Meeting will please come to order. Welcome to the Nevada Irrigation District Board meeting for September 10th, 2025. Please rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please call the roll.
Division 1.
Here.
Division 2.
Here.
Division 3.
Here.
Division 4.
Present.
Division 5.
Here.
At this time, we'll take public comment for any item that is not on the agenda. And you are limited to 3 minutes. So please take the podium.
Hi, Otis Wallen from Colfax and with Bear Park. And just a couple of items. Later this morning, there's a webinar, Sierra Nevada Alliance, and this is about the 30 by 30 language and the Prop 4 language, which has just been released by the state, and they're doing an in-depth dive into it. We'll learn more later in the morning. I hope to spend some time on that document later this week, and I'll certainly be in touch. I'll just talk briefly with Greg about that also. We're seeing how that money aligns up with a lot of the intentions that we've been networking with the counties, the land trusts, the tribes, and whatnot, looking at at what potentials there are for the balance of the lands that NID is holding. And we've talked about that before. We're just making good progress, and Greg is aware of that. Also, a second very small issue on that. It's not a small issue, but you may hear about it. My email and the social media is lighting up with the indication that there seems to be a handful of dredge miners, of suction dredge miner, which is of course illegal now. They're operating below dog bar. The email said approximately a mile, which would really put it in the zone where NID owns the land on both sides of the river. So something is going on down there. I talked with Greg about that. The information I have is all secondhand, and Greg invited me to put him in touch with exactly who I'm hearing from, which I'm going to do later this morning. So I appreciate that conversation with Greg and the collaboration there, and his openness to willing to get together and solve that problem. So, thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wallen. Okay, anyone else? Comments on items that are not on the agenda? Go ahead, please please tell us your name.
Yeah, my name is Jim Hoffler. I'm with Friends of Auburn Ravine. Hearing that information about the illegal mining upstream from Combi, I also heard about that in various ways, emails spinning around everything. It's bad for fish and wildlife, but it's also bad for humans because that dredge mining stirs up mercury. So it could cause problems for Combi and other folks downstream from the scene of the action. Just thought I'd add that.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffler. Anyone else? Is there anyone online? Let's see. Oh, yeah, please come on up. For some reason, one moment, my online folks aren't showing up on my screen. Maybe you could help. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Just a press of a button. Amazing. Okay. Please go ahead. And your name, please?
Eric Pache. I am Vice President of Sierra Neighborhood Alliance. We had recently received permission to hold a green waste event on NID's property in Alta Sierra at the Reservoir off of Francis, I believe. That was recently rescinded, and we were told that we could not use the property for a green waste event, and we wanted to see about appealing that decision and to see if we could have further discussions on possibly using that property.
Okay. Presumably you'll hear from staff at some point on that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Okay. Anyone else? Online? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward with the agenda. Item 3, our consent agenda.
Madam Secretary, I'd like to pull, Madam Secretary.
Madam President
President.
works. Okay, thank
I'd
you.
like to pull item 3C for some clarification.
Okay, pulling item 3C. Are there any other comments or items that the board would like to see further discussion on? Okay, seeing none,
Well, you're moving the
he's
3C.
moving to pull.
3C, but approving the rest.
No,
No, I
there's
didn't
two
do
separate.
anything. I just pulled
I
one.
know.
That's
Yeah.
all.
I wanted to get it
So
moved.
we need a motion, please, to pull item 3C from the consent agenda.
Moved. We don't need a motion for that.
Yeah, we do.
We do?
Yeah. Okay,
Sorry.
we are pulling item 3C from the consent agenda.
Got it.
We have a motion and a second. Chris, our second is from Director Fowler.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we will go ahead and take a roll call vote, please.
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 4,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 2,
Aye.
Division 1.
Yes. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda without item 3C?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment on the consent agenda without item 3C? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote, please.
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 4,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 2,
Aye.
Division 1.
Yes. Okay, let's take up item 3C, grant authorization for the mussels.
Okay, I just have a little confusion about the budget amendment. Increases the, I assume takes the 70,000, increases the budget, the expenditure, right?
Yeah, from
The-
a budgetary perspective, we're required to budget for both the grant revenue and the expenditures. So the grant is in the amount of 70,829. And there's some additional funding that the district will be able to be required to put in that exceeds that to a total of 76,000.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank
Okay.
you.
Anything, any other comment on this item? Anyone from the public want to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve 3C.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Moved and seconded?
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 4,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 2,
Aye.
Division 1.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Next, we'll move to our workshop items. The first being 4A, addition of a senior electrical systems technician job classification to review and provide input. Now, I will mention that on all of these workshop items, we will limit any comment to 3 minutes from any member of the public. Okay. Yes. On item, so let's take up item 4A first. Who's,
And just, Chip will provide the overview. So this item is just to request input on a proposed new job description.
Mhm.
And based off of the input that we receive, we would then bring it back forward for a vote at a later meeting. But just to point out, there was a couple of items that need to be corrected in the packet. Thank you to Director Stevens for helping us with that. One is the job salary was schedule proposed was inadvertently left out. And then the second one, there was just a little typo under abilities. The bullet that states perform mathematical calculations accurately was listed twice. So these are the corrected versions.
Maybe it should be.
Yeah, they.
Super important though, right?
Accurate.
Grammatical, mathematical.
And then I'll turn it over to Chip.
All right, good morning, boards, staff, public. Chip
Morning.
Close, Director of Water Operations. And as Jennifer mentioned, today we're here to discuss the addition of a senior electrical systems technician job classification. It's a mouthful. As you may be aware, the district does have an electrical department, and these guys cover a very wide range of tasks, all the way from changing the light bulbs sometimes here in the office to wiring expansions of the office or new buildings to complicated water quality calibrations to programming, designing, and implementing the brains, the SCADA systems that run the water treatment plants, to maintaining the network and the IT and the communications to send alarms out when these treatment plants have issues. So quite a wide range and a broad scope of work. And all this requires a great knowledge and significant technical expertise that makes retention and recruitment very difficult at times. And that's why we're here to discuss the addition of this additional step. The electrical division is currently structured with a 1, a 2, and then a superintendent level. While this has served the district well, the addition of a senior level will provide additional opportunity for cross-training and succession planning, which is part of the district's strategic plan goals. This additional level will provide advanced technical expertise to support daily operations, ensure a designated backup for the superintendent during his absence, and strengthen retention by offering additional step in the career ladder. Now, at this point, I'd like to take a minute and show you, walk you through the job description and show you the differences between a level 2 and this new proposed senior position. And I'll start with the first page, which at the bottom right corner is page 4 on your packet. If you go down 3/4 of that page, you'll see essential function statements. Bullet number 2, recommend, evaluate, and deploy new technology. That's very important to us. That's a whole new line item description specifically for the senior level. Our level 1 and 2 basically will maintain this new technology, but they don't decide what it is and deploy it. So that's very important for
I'm
us.
sorry, where are we?
So this is the very first page of the job description. On the bottom right corner of the page, it says number 4, page 4.
Page 4.
New one that was handed out, page 4, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm still in the packet.
We're in the,
Yes.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. The next one, line 6, design and maintain computer and telemetry networks, programming and manage virtual private networks, routers, firewalls, network storage and servers. This is also very important to the district and very unique to the district. Most agencies hire this kind of stuff out, or they have a different position that does this through the IT department. We're very unique in that we have our own crews that can do this. It's important to us, A, because it saves us money. We don't have to hire a consultant to get this done. But B, when things go sideways or go wrong, we have onboard staff that can come jump in and help us resolve these issues in real time, and the treatment plant can get right back up and running.
So this is unique because of these people, or I guess they're special. I mean, in the sense that normally you would not find that talent in this person, in this slot.
Yes, correct. So you would find that talent, but usually in a different job description. These guys cover not only just day-to-day electrical wiring, but they're also covering the technical side of what we do. It's pretty impressive. Also, lines 8 and 9 is on the next page, page 5 on the bottom right corner. Design and install, both of those lines include that as the opening statement. The level 2 doesn't do the design. Sometimes they'll help with the install, but they don't do the design. Moving on down into qualifications, that very first bullet statement, advanced electrical theory and principles, along with the next bullet, advanced principles and practices. The level 2 basically, it says basic understanding of those items, not advanced. And then moving 5 bullets down, these are the most important 3 in my opinion. Extensive knowledge of building SCADA systems and complex control circuits, that is unique to the senior level position. Advanced practices associated with the use, maintenance, and troubleshooting of sophisticated testing equipment, also unique to this senior level. And then networking, design, configuration, and troubleshooting, also unique to the senior level position and very important to the district. Moving down to ability 2, that second bullet, design, analyze complex electrical, electronic, electromagnetical, computer, network, telemetry, keeps going on and on, but basically that is all senior level stuff that we've added. So very important, and I think really sets this position aside from the levels 1 and 2. And then as we mentioned earlier, the typo was caught there in the ability to, so thank you, Earl, for those corrections. Last but not least, in the experience and education guidelines, the level 2 requires 2 years of experience, whereas this senior level, it requires 5 years responsible experience, similar to an electrical systems tech 2. Another good differentiation. Now moving, well, before I move on to that, I know in past classification additions, it's always been discussed about certifications. And so we did look into that. We thought that would be a good avenue to differentiate this from the other positions. However, I must say, we looked up, I've got 10 to 12 different classifications here. Walking through each of them, they all bring something unique, but something that doesn't really relate to what we need. So for instance, there's Master Certified Electronics Technician. That's really about hardwiring of the building. Our guys are very proficient in that. And it doesn't include IT networking or SCADA programming. Moving on down, we have a couple of, bless you, OSHA certifications and Lead Green Associates. Again, those are safety related, NFPA related. We have a whole safety department that helps us with all that. So I really feel like that was a good fit. We have renewable energy certification along with wind turbine certification. We don't really do any of that, so that doesn't really pertain. There is a certified control systems technician. That's about as close as you're going to find to what we're after. But again, it leaves out the IT networking, the SCADA programming. Really, that certification is just about calibrating equipment. And we do that. We follow the manuals. And then last but not least, there's, again, industrial electronics. And really, that's doesn't fit the role we're after. The other challenge with adding a certification at this level is that the superintendent level, who's above this position, doesn't require that certification. So it'd be awkward to require staff at the lower level to have the certification, whereas the boss of the group doesn't. So that becomes a challenge.
So Chip, is there any area that includes the SCADA? Any certification that includes the SCADA or comes close to it?
It's such a highly technical and moving study that it's hard to come up with a good certification that's a standard across the industry. I'm sure if we studied and spent a little more time, we could find something that's pretty close. But again, it's weird to have the certification for one aspect of what they do when they have such a wide range of knowledge.
And the flip of that is what training is necessary or schooling to operate SCADA or work on SCADA.
So that's a great question. And we're very fortunate to have such a very knowledgeable staff on board, and they like to recruit within and train within. We also send them to classes on how to do these, how to get this training. We like to do it in-house. We like to grow within whenever we can. And that's how the knowledge comes about. We've been successful to this point, farming that in-house. I imagine at some point in time, if we start having trouble with that kind of recruitment, we may have to change some of that up.
One or two, three people will fill this slot, or one?
At this point, I imagine it's only one. There's really two people that are a go-to as far as the programming and whatnot. That doesn't mean in the future the others might come up to speed on those levels, but right now there's really two key personnel. One's a superintendent. There are others that are working on it. So initially, and thanks for segueing into the budgetary impacts. Initially, this there's no immediate impact to the 2025 budget, but if adopted, this position is anticipated to be included in the 26 budget as a promotional only opportunity. It will not add any FTEs, basically a bump up for somebody who's already in one of these positions. The change to the budget, and if you added this position and it got stepped out, maxed out, would be $16,765 as it is proposed today.
Per year?
Yes, correct.
The bargain.
Chip, I have a question when you're talking about filling from, internally. So, you've outlined this amazing skill set that you're looking for. Do we have people in-house that have these skill sets?
Not initially, and that's why you have the steps we do. We bring them in at a level 1 and we train them and coach them and bring them up as we go. It takes time. We're very fortunate, again, to have dedicated staff that seem to like this, and there's a large draw when a position comes open in this series. So again, we haven't had trouble filling it internally yet. Hopefully it continues that way, and we like to grow them within.
I have a question. This, the electrical technician, I understand, but this job brings in a lot of IT, what's traditionally IT job. Is there a model where, is somebody else doing this? Because it seems like we traditionally, that's always been an IT department that would do a lot of this higher level stuff. And if we're going to do it with the electrical technician, it's also working with their hands and pulling wire and doing all that stuff. It just seems unusual to me. That's all.
It is unusual.
Is there a model that exists somewhere else?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Um,
We did it in Lincoln.
You
did you?
Yeah, it's pretty normal for the electrical technician type folks to also handle SCADA type IT applications.
Okay.
So, and I will also
Cool.
state that Hydro does it too. So
They
we're
do,
not
okay.
unique in that regard. Our Hydro division is very similarly staffed and manages. IT does a lot of this, but they do it for the building and for the headquarters here. Our electrical crew in the water department does it for the treatment plants. Hydro does it for the powerhouses. So you can see kind of the split there.
Couple questions if I could.
Yes, sir.
Brad brought it up kind of, but the IT, is there going to be cross-training between our in-house IT, if you will, the building IT and this position here so they can kind of help each other and work that way?
Yeah, great question. And I didn't answer the rest of your question. Do we do it now? Yes, our superintendent does that
Okay.
high-level IT stuff. And yes, they work very closely together. In fact, they talk about who's going to share what server and what kind of firewalls we're all going to standardize upon. And so they do work very closely together and they network together really well.
Okay, and I'm assuming the superintendent also has to have all these senior level skills too.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And before we get to the financial thing, I might as well ask my final question here, is that this person here is not going to be exempt, therefore they're not going to be a supervisor, but it says in here that they will act as a supervisor when the superintendent is not present.
Correct.
Are they going to be paid out of class when they perform that duty?
It depends on the length and time. That's a MOU requirement.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Additionally, staff did help write this up. So we did get a lot of their input. I appreciate that. HR helped with the comparison of the local agencies that have something similar to this. And as you can see, the chart in there does show that we're kind of on the lower end of the scale, but regardless, it just shows you that we're in the ballpark as far as the pay goes for these positions. And this packet was sent to the union for input, but so far I haven't heard any negative feedback. Haven't heard any positive yet either, but at least it was sent.
I could ask a question on the two spreadsheets that are in the packet. When we have the senior technician or electrical systems technician two, in the red line there, we have a CP/max of 9438. Is that the step 6 or step 1?
That, I believe, is the step 6.
Minimum is step 1, maximum step 6.
Then on the other one, we're basically dealing with the same thing, 11. Superintendent is 11,646. Yet step 6 on this new position is going to be 12,4, higher than the step 6 of the superintendent. If I'm reading it correctly, I'm just trying.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
It's a little old.
In the past too.
yeah. We've had a couple stepping, our CPI increases since then, yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Chip, I have a couple follow-up questions. I'm fascinated that in your comparison with Turlock and City of Grass Valley, so on, El Dorado, blah, 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 PCWA, there's no comparable class. How are they doing this with, is it just that there's no class or there's not anybody doing it?
There's a multitude of reasons why, but a lot of times it's the job description, the nomenclature is not the same. So when you do an initial survey of, does the City of Grass Valley have an electrical systems technician? No, but they do have an electrician that has many of the same duties, but not all the same. So it's not a direct comparison. It's very hard to cross-shop some of these positions.
I would think Yuba and Placer and PCWA would have something more comparable.
And I can tell you they
It's not
do.
surprising that Grass Valley doesn't.
Right, I agree. And PCWA does have this, but I will tell you, I know they split it. So they have an electrical tech and then they have an IT tech.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they
That kind of goes to your,
bifurcate it.
okay, thank you for the answer.
Hmm.
Any
So-
further comment or question?
We're not voting today, we're just receiving
Right.
input.
It's all good.
Okay, anyone else have questions or comments? Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Is there anyone from the public, either virtual or present, that would like to weigh in on this? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for the presentation.
Right. Thank you for the support board.
Good job.
Thank you. Yeah. Really good job. Wow, technical.
Chip said bifurcated.
Say what?
You said bifurcated. I need to work that into my,
Bifurcated. I know, that's a
Bifurcated.
really good,
Yes.
good word.
I'm gonna write that down. Yeah,
You haven't heard that one before?
I know I have heard it.
You have heard it.
Never used it.
Okay, next we will take up item 4B, the Healthy Rivers and Landscape Agreement. This is simply discussion and taking input from the public. Again, 3 minutes for public comment. So Jen, take it away.
All right, I think Dustin and I will tag team this. As the board is aware, the State Water Resources Control Board has been in process of updating the basin plan for the Bay Delta. And essentially what the basin plan does is it identifies beneficial uses for the Bay Delta and its tributaries that are essentially like canoeing or drinking water or fishing. And then they establish water quality standards and water quality objectives that are intended to protect those beneficial uses. So in order to protect the salmon objectives, the Water Board has been undergoing a comprehensive update of the Bay Delta plan for how long? Ever?
15 years.
15 years.
Ever.
In regards to some of the fishery objectives, the Water Board has developed a draft plan, and in the draft plan, there's 2 regulatory pathways to obtain compliance with the beneficial use water quality objective standards that are included in it. One is what we refer to as unimpaired flow, and one is referred to as the Healthy Rivers and Landscape Agreement. So what we've done is we've put together a real brief presentation that Dustin and I will review, and then we'll answer any questions. What's included in your packet is the NID, Healthy Rivers and Landscape proposal that has been accepted by the state board. This has taken approximately, I don't know,
8 years.
8 years to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken, I couldn't even tell you how many meetings myself has participated in, and I know that Dustin's been part of this long before I was ever even here. So the unimpaired flow standard that essentially I'll just real briefly introduce it, and then Dustin can get a little bit more into it. The unimpaired flow standard reduces your allowable diversions per your water rights for a specific percentage. It can be anywhere from 35% all the way up to 65%. The Healthy Rivers and Landscape regulatory pathway includes both a flow contribution, a financial contribution, and a habitat contribution. So the reason why the Healthy Rivers and Landscape program was developed was because there is significant science that supports that additional flow by itself will not help salmon objectives be met. Therefore, that it's really a combination needed of new habitats, restored habitat, as well as flow contributions that is required. From an NID perspective, the unimpaired flow standards would decimate our district. As the board is aware, we have a very, very old district with very, very long stretches of infrastructure to be able to deliver water specifically to our lower division areas. And so we'll talk about some of those impacts, why we're entering into the Healthy Rivers Landscape Program, and how NID will proceed forward. So with that, do you have any questions before we start?
You.
Okay.
Thank you. So we have signed the MOU.
Correct. So the memorandum of understanding is between a number of agencies. It's NID, it is the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Department of Water Resources, and then their kind of parent agencies. The State Water Resources Control Board is not signatory to the MOU, but they have, once we have successfully negotiated and executed the MOU and our associated Healthy Rivers and Landscape term sheet, they have now incorporated our Healthy Rivers and Landscape program into the newest draft of the staff report that they have in program implementation for the Bay Delta Plan update, which includes those 2 regulatory pathways that we discussed, Healthy Rivers and Landscape and unimpaired flow.
Is there a chance that that we've now all agreed, all of these agencies, that would be modified in some way or modified, changed, whatever by
It could be.
Water Board?
Yeah, it could be. So the program of implementation that's included in the actual Bay Delta Plan update is still being worked on in a sense. And the State Water Resources Control Board has their own public process and they obtain public input. And that is usually what precipitates additional changes being made. Our term sheet essentially outlines the large deal points of our agreement. So it includes what our flow contribution is, what our habitat contribution is, and then what our financial contribution is. Or a potential for additional modifications.
I'll just let me follow up on one thing. So maybe this is for Dustin, since he's been involved for 15 years. What do you think the likelihood is, or is there a chance that the state will just go, really great, you guys, throw it out and go, we're doing unimpaired flows no matter what?
Yeah, at this moment in time, I think the momentum is behind the Healthy Rivers program.
Okay.
So a final decision has not been made. That's anticipated for either the end of this year or perhaps first part of next year. Anything could happen. There could be tension between the federal government and the state that causes some kind of, schism or, revisiting of the Healthy Rivers program. Nothing is final until it's final. But I would say at this moment in time, there is significant momentum behind the Healthy Rivers program. And it has significant support from state and a number of water agencies. I think something like 90% of water rights are covered by the Healthy Rivers program. There's a lot of momentum, funding, both state and local commitments. The trend is certainly towards that as the adoption. The Healthy Rivers program initial term is 8 years. This goes to an earlier question you raised about the potential for changes. So between now and adoption, there's potential for tweaks, I would say, subject to agreement from the Healthy Rivers parties. But then in the potential for an extension, we'll get into this in the PowerPoint, it's referred to as the red, yellow, green light. So if you extend from the initial 8 years to a 15-year term, kind of as the name implies, green means everything's good. We just move right forward into 15 years. Red is stop. This isn't working. We're doing something else, perhaps unimpaired flow or something else. And then yellow is it's mostly working, but there needs to be some tweaks. And that could be program-wide. It could be tributary specific. Obviously, we don't know at this point in time.
And who is the sort of MOU police, if you will? I mean, who is saying red, yellow, or green? Who makes that determination that impacts us so dramatically?
Ultimately, it's the state board's decision, but the vision is that it would be a collaborative, science-based decision-making process. So there's the public water agencies and state agencies that are supporting the Healthy Rivers program. Propose this robust science program, governance program that's managing all of these assets, flow and funding and habitat, and assessing whether this is trending towards success. Obviously, in 8 years, you only have a couple salmon runs, so you can't say this is definitively going to solve the problem, but you can start seeing hopefully some trends, and folks are actually doing the things that they committed to. There would be robust scientific process that would then be delivered to the State Water Board that would then go into their decision-making as to whether this program is trending towards success, needs to be extended with or without tweaks.
And then how many water agencies like ours are choosing the pathway of the Healthy Rivers program versus unimpaired flow?
Like I said, over 90% of water rights are covered. So in terms of
statewide?
Well, so we're looking at the Sacramento Bay Delta watershed. So it's not statewide.
Okay.
Because the watershed includes significant export.
Yes.
You cover a large geographic area of the state. So at present, you have all of the exporter interests, state water contractors, CVP contractors, FRIANT contractors. So that's a large swath of geographic area south of the Delta. And then in terms of Northern California, you have all of the major tributaries, Sac Main Stem, Feather River, American River, Yuba River, Bear River, of course, is our proposal. Buda Creek. I mean, so when you start going down the list, if you were to map this out, and unfortunately I don't have that, you would have very small areas that are currently uncovered by a Healthy Rivers program. But I would say those folks that are currently uncovered are working towards trying to have an agreement.
And then this will be my last question. Thank you guys for being patient. Is given the divisive and divisions within the federal government and the state government currently, does the federal government have any authority over these agreements that we're making within the state of California?
Yes,
Okay.
and I can go really deep into the weeds, but I won't.
No, we just on a high level, it'd be nice.
High level, so remember the federal government operates the Central Valley
Right.
Project. That's the American River,
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento River, main stem. If for some reason the federal government did not want to participate in a Healthy Rivers program, that makes it very difficult for those tributaries to ensure the commitments that they made as part of their proposals are actually, advanced into the system. So there's kind of an implementation problem in terms of some kind of schism between the federal government and the state government. In addition, there's a consistency determination. Anytime a water quality control plan is amended, the Clean Water Act says that the federal EPA has a review role in that amendment. I will tell you that, and this goes to the first slide here, phase one is an action taken by the state board already in December of 2018. And state board did adopt an unimpaired flow standard as to the lower San Joaquin River. That decision was elevated shortly thereafter to the federal EPA. Of course, this was during the first Trump administration. And that consistency determination resulted in a blessing of the unimpaired flow standard. So who knows in this term whether that would be the same or not, but there is a review role for the federal government.
It seems like our proposal in the MOU is the pathway to best protect our watershed and our water for our customers. Is that a true?
Absolutely.
That's a true statement?
We'll have some slides to
Okay, great.
depict that.
Thank you. Okay, others, I'll back away.
Should we jump into the presentation?
Okay,
Well,
I don't know.
I had a
It looks
follow-up
like,
question to Ricky's.
okay.
Okay.
Make it brief. That was a great observation about the federal government. Where do they stand right currently with the?
I don't know.
They don't know, or we don't know.
No one knows.
No
I
one
think
knows.
both. They currently do not have an appointee. So there's a leadership vacuum.
So that could be really muddy the waters, right? The
Yes.
federal government could.
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't they sign something on Sacramento River?
They expressed support in 2022. The MOU that NID.
When you say they, can you be? more
The
specific?
federal,
Bureau.
the bureau,
Thorough,
yeah,
Thank you.
okay. So in Plan for Water, we went the extra mile with our modeling. So we could model what climate change would do, and we could model what the unimpaired flows could do. And so to date, the state has not done that.
They've done their
Correct.
own modeling effort. We, however, do not agree with, there's something broken in their model, and we could talk about that a little bit.
Okay, and then second of all, without, and you're gonna hear this every time I'm here, without curtailing or suppressing the striped bass, you're not gonna have a salmon population. So what's the game? Who are they trying to fool?
Probably a question for someone else, actually.
No, I'm just rhetorically.
I know, I
putting
hear
out
you.
there because, you know, one hand,
I propose we jump back into the presentation. We've covered a lot of the presentation just out of order.
Okay.
Always good to repeat.
Are you okay with that? Everybody jump in the
Yes.
presentation and hold your question?
Oh, you can
I
ask
was
questions
planning to hold my questions.
Okay,
or ask questions as we go through the slides.
Okay,
'cause
very
some
good.
Information will be provided.
Yeah, I already have one.
All right, slide one, which we covered most of. So we've talked about phase one as well as phase two. So phase two is what applies to our district and our watershed. So these are all tributaries to the Sacramento a river in the kind of northern portion of the delta. So we've talked about unimpaired flows and the Healthy Rivers Landscape Program. So unimpaired flow, it is an adaptive range. The range still is bouncing around a little bit, but it does appear it's going to be probably between 35 and 55% with a adaptive range all the way up to 65%. We have done some modeling to show impacts on our reservoirs in the event any one of those ranges was selected by the board. So, and it also includes into September storage targets to maintain cold water pools in the rim reservoirs, which we do not own. We drain into Campfire West as well as Bullards, which are considered rim reservoirs. Yes, sir.
There's a rim reservoir.
It's the reservoir gatekeeping to the delta.
The next one up.
Yeah.
Okay.
The furthest reservoir downstream.
Thank you. Okay.
So we did look at unimpaired flow impacts to Scott's Flat, and these do show the different unimpaired flow standards. So on the left-hand side, so what you're seeing is all the different colors. So starting with the darkest red, these are water type years. Just one thing to note that the water type years that we utilize in our plan for water modeling aren't the exact same as the water type years that are used in the Bay Delta Plan update. But the information is still relevant. We just add in one additional year. So the dark red is extreme critical water year. The next red is critical dry, orange is dry, green, light green is below normal, dark green is above normal, and blue is wet. So what this slide is showing you is that under existing conditions in Scotts Flat Reservoir at April 30th, right? So this is before we received a lot of water, but right at the very beginning of irrigation season. On an existing basis, we have fairly healthy April 30th storage from at Scotts Flat and in our rest of our reservoirs. The three sets of bars that are shown to the right of existing conditions are the unimpaired flow scenarios. So what you can see is that in a drastic critical or extreme critical dry years, we would have very little water available in Scotts Flat, which is extremely alarming. Scotts Flat does provide a large amount of our water for drinking water sources to our treatment plants.
100% of it would go for drinking water.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, that's where you would get to, right? Is that if we were ever under a 65% unimpaired flow, we would essentially only be able to serve drinking water to the treatment plants.
That's also under dead pool too, right?
Yeah, there would be in extreme critical and critical dry years, there would be dead pool issues.
So is this storage total or is this storage available on that?
It's total storage.
That's
It's
total,
total storage.
It's water in the reservoir.
And what's dead pool on Scott's?
7.
Yeah, probably 5 to 7.
Oh, so-
Depends on how much sediment is
okay.
at the bottom.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
If I can expand, Jen. So the State Water Board, first of all, did not incorporate climate change hydrology.
I remember that.
That's a big problem. Second, the State Water Board's modeling did not incorporate any NID facilities. What they did in their modeling, they hard-coded NID facilities. So in the narrative, they said NID's facilities are subject to unimpaired flow, but then in the actual model analysis, they hard-coded it so that the reservoir levels would not change. Obviously, we have significant legal concern with that. That's not showing any impacts. You're forcing the model to basically say the reservoirs don't change whatsoever. So what we did is we said, okay, coincidentally, we have just developed a model through the Plan for Water process. So we're going to take what you've proposed, Water Board, and we're going to use climate change hydrology because that's what this district is facing. And we're going to actually model the effect of unimpaired flow on our reservoirs. And it functions quite, I mean, you've coincidentally experienced this with the Spalding PG&E fiasco of the last 30 years. What unimpaired flow does is it prevents you from moving water from your upper division storage into, in this case, Scotts Flat. the water board did recognize, to their credit, that a straight 55% unimpaired flow causes way too significant of water supply impacts. So they, in their July update to the draft plan, they've proposed kind of this sliding scale. The driest third of years would be 35% unimpaired flow. The wettest third of years would be 55% unimpaired flow, and then the middle third of years would be 45. So it's kind of this sliding scale depending on where you land in terms of your hydrology. And what is depicted here is NID's effort to incorporate that sliding scale. So this actually is an excerpt from a technical report that will go into a comment letter that has not yet been provided to the state board, but will be. So this is a reflection of the State Water Board's current proposal utilizing that sliding 35, 45, 55% scale. And what it shows is that April 30th, you should be your high point, right? You're coming out of the precip season, you're transitioning into the irrigation season. And to me, what I see is an unmanageable situation. You just do not have water. And this is effectively all of Nevada County. I don't know how you manage around this situation. It's really catastrophic.
I have a question, follow-up.
Yeah.
What do you think is their reasoning for leaving climate change out? This smells to me.
Yeah, I think it's difficult.
Difficult.
Difficult. You know, as you know, this board knows you spent a lot of time and resources developing climate hydrology. And I think the state board is already there's a sense of urgency given the climate crisis, the fishery crisis. And I just don't think they had time to, incorporate climate change. So
You're probably being generous. I mean,
I
So-
think it's being generous.
so previous models showed that maybe 20% of the years we were going to be dry and have trouble, but now this is saying almost every year we're going to have issues
many years, yes.
every year.
In the unimpaired.
Remember, this
flow.
is also showing annual average storage with unimpaired flow applied over the plan for water modeling.
Right.
So as you can see on this slide, November 1st storage is even worse. So this is after
Oh,
irrigation season, before it starts raining.
joy.
Question on that, why is critical dry less than extreme critical? Water conservation measures go into place or what?
Yeah, water conservation. So remember the plan for water modeling, the demand component does incorporate the district's drought contingency plan. And so there's extreme water conservation. And then also one of the parts that gets a little bit confusing is, these numbers, we're talking about annual average numbers. So in the model, it's looking over a 50-year period. And the historical hydrology is influenced by the climate change hydrology. And that's what's used to develop how much water supply we have coming in. And so from a modeling perspective, you get these weird years that layer on each other, right? It could be showing two dry years, one wet year, and it all impacts each other because of the carryover storage.
To drive this home a little more, a few years ago, there was an irrigation district, a big one, that couldn't even get enough water to wet their canals. That's what this is showing us.
Yeah, yes. It would be very challenging. We would not have enough water under an unimpaired flow scenario to move water to the lower division because it does take us approximately 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how dry the summer was, to even wet our canals. And given that we have so many miles of canals, it does take a lot of water to even push that far. All right, so unimpaired flow impacts, and this is probably obvious to the board, but reduce deliveries, reduce hydropower generation, impacts to other species, and then we have less water to sell. We also have less water rate revenue coming in.
In the water rates, are you going to, when we get to it in a month or so, are you going to bring in this scenario as a?
No, if the unimpaired flow scenario were to be the only regulatory pathway that is adopted, we would be required to go back out and redo our rates. rates to reflect that.
Could you, we couldn't even have it as a doomsday type figure?
No, it would be difficult to understand because they're talking about implementing the unimpaired flow standard based off of a curtailment process, which is similar to what they do during droughts.
Mhm.
And they're also discussing developing a plan by which there could be modifications due to other outside factors. And one of those outside factors that I brought up during my conversations with the state board is related to there should be a reduction in unimpaired flow for high fire hazard areas.
Everything.
Right. So we just don't, there's so many unknowns, it would be difficult to include anything in your rates. All right, so we'll pivot now to talk about our Healthy Rivers Landscape program. And the first item we'll talk about, if you recall, there's flow contribution, habitat contribution, and financial contribution. The flow contribution that we developed is essentially has three components to it. And it is a little bit complex, so bear with me. So our amount of water that we will be contributing that will achieve new delta outflow is 5,600 acre feet, 1,000 acre feet per year. Sorry, I said that wrong. 5,600 acre feet per year during call years. For our portion of the flow contribution table, master flow contribution table, we are only required to make flow contributions in dry, below normal, and above normal water years. We do not have to make contributions in critical years or wet years. So we have three components. Our component one, water, and these water or flow contributions will only be made during what we refer to as a call year. So you'll hear Dustin and I talk about that a lot. During a call year, which is one of these 3-year types, we will be making these flow contributions. So the first one is we refer to as component one. And one of the challenges that NID has with participating in the Healthy Rivers Landscape program is that the state board is requesting flow contributions to be made January to June of each year to maximize benefit to salmon, salinity objectives in the delta, and for delta outflow purposes. Our challenge is that we are still typically spilling at Rollins during their formal call period, about 8 out of 10 years. So it could be difficult for us to make a regular flow contribution when we're not spilling because the water that is a flow contribution has to result in new delta outflow, so spill does not count. So to address that issue, component
Yeah.
Spill doesn't count.
Bill doesn't.
It's additional.
yes, it's
So-
new water.
But that gives us more reason to raise Rollins or increase our storage.
Not necessarily.
I'm with Rich.
So there's also some additional restrictions that are being woven into the Bay Delta Plan update related to any new storage projects. So those impact any thoughts of new storage, but we can talk about that in a little bit. So component one water is essentially spill water that we would move from the Rollins spilling from Bear River over to the Auburn Ravine to move salmon out before diversions get put in place for the year to protect baby salmon. That is limited to 3,600 acre feet due to limitations with some of our infrastructure. We can't move more water than that.
That was maybe my question. What's the capacity on the Bear River Canal?
3,600.
Yeah.
So we will be coordinating the movement of that water with regulatory agencies as well as a non-governmental organization that is also here today, Friends of Auburn Ravine. We have been working in partnership with them on salmon issues on the Auburn Ravine.
That's over what period of time?
It's basically when we all get together and find that it would be most beneficial.
Would be approximately March 1 through April 15th. Once
Here to April
Really?
15th.
Month and a half?
We want it before people put their diversion boards in downstream.
So about 12 second feet,
up to 40.
40.
The component two water is actual new water deliveries when Rollins is not spilling. in a year that we move spill over, we essentially then have to repay our 5,600 acre feet at some time after Rollins stops spilling. This could be outside of the call period. Component 2 could also go into effect if it's determined with everybody's input that component 1 water is not going to be beneficial for a particular year and Rollins stops spilling early. We could make our contribution during the call period. Does that make sense? And then component 3 water is intended to reflect the new FERC license. And so we would not be able to make new FERC license in-stream flows, which are required year-round on all tributaries, and Healthy Rivers landscape flows on top of that without drastically impacting our water supply. So once we move into the new FERC license, we drop off components 1 and 2, and we are utilizing component 3 water.
So the FERC flows satisfy all the other.
Yeah, the FERC in-stream flows are on all of the tributaries coming into the Delta, the Yuba and the Bear, and those collectively meet the HRL amounts
It
required.
becomes your HRL
Okay.
flow contribution.
They don't stack on top of each other.
No, they do not stack. 1 and 2 go away. I mean, there could be a potential we'd still push water over with 1. So components 1 and 2, we receive a monetary compensation from the overall Healthy Rivers Landscape Program. Component 3, we do not, because it would be a regulatory requirement. If component 3 goes into effect and there's still some wanted benefit from component 1, we could still push water over from during periods. Component 1 doesn't affect our water supply, and then we would still receive monetary compensation for it.
So is FERC okay with, we would have to push some water down River Canal?
It has nothing to do with FERC.
No, when we go to component 3,
Component 3 does not impact FERC at all. So the FERC in-stream flow requirements from a regulatory perspective are separate as far as FERC is concerned. From a water board perspective, they're allowing acceptance of the FERC.
my question is, aren't we talking about pushing water over to Auburn Ravine though? Out of that FERC water?
No. So remember,
How does it get there then? How does it satisfy?
we're just conflating a couple issues. Once FERC in-stream flows come into effect, components 1 and 3 drop
I
away.
understand that.
We can still do component 1 if we determine that it's needed and we will receive compensation. But component 1 is spill water, so it has nothing to do with stored water.
Okay.
There would likely be less component 1 water, but FERC does not care about components 1 or 2.
There is no FERC, to phrase it differently, there is no FERC flow requirement to put water into the Bear River Canal.
No, I know that. It's going to go down the Bear River instead of down the canal, which component 1 does, right?
Component 1,
So how's that different for Auburn Ravine? I mean, how's that satisfy putting water into Auburn Ravine if we do away with it, with component 1 going away?
right. Yeah, so you're redirecting spill. So
Yeah.
you're taking water that is spilling at Rollins, you're using Bear River Canal, and you're dumping it into Auburn Ravine for outmigration benefits. That is not, by the time you get to the Delta, that's not new water, right? Because
So it's all.
it would have gone to Bear River,
Rerouting it.
we're rerouting it, but it is new water to Auburn Ravine.
I thought you said they didn't want us, they weren't going to allow us to use spill water to do that.
That's why if you look at the compensation, that the value of that redirected spill water is substantially lower than the value of component 2, which is the new water to the Bay Delta watershed.
When you would, if we make a component 1 water contribution in a call year, we would then have to make a subsequent component 2 water contribution in the same call year to pay back what we were originally owed. It's because we're outside of the call time period.
They should make it harder.
Well, in the complexity of our proposal speaks to the complexity of being a non-rim reservoir, even participating in this program.
If we're putting water down the River Canal at capacity, do we then lose any ability to service anybody else off that canal?
No, remember, this is before the start of irrigation season.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
This is complex. You almost need a flow chart.
Right, so just remember, component one is spill water, does not impact our water supply, and it, it does not meet our actual required contribution. We do component one in any given year, we then have to do component two to pay the system back what we should have contributed if Rollins wasn't spilling during their call time. Both components one and two essentially go away when FERC and stream flows come into effect.
Is component two like a penalty almost?
Yeah.
That's the way it comes across.
So I think this chart is helpful showing the year types. If the state board adopts either later this year or early next year, year one of this program is probably not until 2027. The middle three year types for component one and component two statistically happen about 55, 58% of the time. You would not be making either component one or component two contributions in the critical or the wet year types, which happen, the 40 some odd percent of the years. And obviously we don't know when the new FERC license is going to be issued. So it could be year two of the program, or it could be not even in the initial 8-year period. But we had to account for that because of that uncertainty. And as Jen already mentioned, we just don't have enough water to do both. A flow contribution plus a new FERC license commitment.
In the event, I think this might help clear up some confusion. In the event FERC flows are in place and the regulatory agencies are asking us to still push spill water over to Auburn Ravine to move salmon out, the FERC flows will impact the frequency in which Rollins is spilling because there will be less carryover storage. So we will likely be spilling later than we normally would be because we have more storage to fill up. Does that help
Yep.
clear it up? Okay.
On the new FERC license, it's a greater flow that we would be required. Is there a time of year requirement? Is that for
All the
license?
time, all
It's year round.
year round.
Continual?
Mhm.
Varies by year type, varies by location. Yeah.
But it's 25.6 acre feet for the total time.
I don't know that figure.
That's not a 2.
That's we're
That's greater than 5 point, greater than.
greater than 5 points.
Greater than or equal to 5.
Our FERC flows equal or exceed
Oh, it's greater.
any water year type.
Right.
What the Healthy Rivers landscape contribution is required to be.
Or equal.
They exceed, yeah.
So once the FERC license is in place, assuming the FERC license comes into place, then is this whole Healthy River and Landscape proposal nullified? Or are we still bound by some of these terms?
You're still bound by habitat and
Okay, so
monitoring.
it's only the flows that are subject to change. Okay,
they're only changing into being component 3.
understood. Okay.
And we'll still be able to collect the $2 per acre foot, et cetera, and use that for habitat with the FERC license?
Well, we pay the $2 per acre, but so
Oh, we use it in-house.
we use in-house, yeah. We will still be required to meet our habitat contributions as well as our payment, which we're funding our own program. Okay, so we talked a lot about the flow contributions already. The Habitat project is a neat project. So we had proposed many different projects during our negotiations, specifically with CDFW. As the board is aware, we had originally proposed to evaluate further removal of the Gold Hill diversion. So Hemp Hill diversion was removed and the fish ladder and fish screen were installed or constructed. The next diversion upstream is the Gold Hill diversion. So our original habitat program proposed evaluating and potentially removing the Gold Hill diversion. But based off of comments we received back specifically from CDFW as well as NIMS, They indicated that they aren't very interested in us expending funds on the Gold Hill diversion because salmon, in their opinion, do not make it up that far, and it would be a waste of their money. So based off of that feedback, we revised our habitat program to now be a grant program where the grant contributors, people funding the grants, would then pay for private diversions on the lower Auburn Ravine to be screened so that fish don't get entrained onto the fields. We worked with Friends of Auburn Ravine as well as the Family Water Alliance and South Center Water District to start discussions around developing this grant program. So the idea behind the grant program is that we would take the habitat contributions that NID is required to make, which is $2 per acre foot of diverted water. And we would essentially work with Family Water Alliance and Friends of Auburn Ravine to develop a privately owned diversion screening program. The funding would funnel to Family Water Alliance, and they would assist us with developing, getting these projects constructed. So we would be paying into the program as well as South Sutter would be paying into the program. And there is opportunity to get other funding for the program.
Lower Auburn Ravine starts at Lincoln. Is that correct, or is it above Lincoln?
At Lincoln, the diversions are below Lincoln.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Rich.
I just want to say Family Alliance, Water Alliance is a great group, as is the Friends of Auburn Ravine.
Yeah,
Both
think
have
it's
a
really
great track record.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a real neat alliance that we've all formed, and I think it's going to be a really good project because there are some very important diversions down there that could use fish screens. And funding is always a question. And as the board is aware, whoever's been out at Hemp Hill, the Hemp Hill fish screen is quite the contraption, so they can be fairly expensive.
Mhm.
Do
Well,
we
the-
charge for
the-
that?
Or what?
The attraction.
I like the Nimbus Dam fish
Yeah.
ladder.
Oh yeah, we could do it. Yeah, tours.
So Jen, the $2 per acre foot, is how many acre feet, talking about all the water we stow?
I want to clarify that. It's
Is it-
consumptively used.
It's what?
Okay.
So it's about 120,000
Yeah.
or so, up to
Okay.
130,000.
And that's new money we have to come up with, right?
Well, it just has to be in our budget.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
new money.
Water rates.
The rate
It's
papers.
new money, yes.
New money.
Will need to be in.
And it needs to be.
The neat thing about our habitat proposal is that there is going to be established a global habitat fund that all HRL parties will pay into, and then they kind of piecemeal out these projects through science and government committees.
Who does the $2 go to?
It's going back to us. So they have allowed us to put all the money we'd be required to pay, whether we did this habitat project or not, into our own proposed habitat
To
project.
fund the habitat.
Yes.
Improvements.
This grant program.
This project is not only great, it's doable.
It is doable. It's something tangible. It's something we can see directly in the Auburn Ravine, and it also leverages the good work that we've already done at Hemp Hill.
And does that satisfy requirements for habitat? I mean, who determines the scope of your contribution as far as habitat's concerned?
About like how many fish screens we
Yeah,
construct.
how-
And that was a question that we had. Our project is a little bit different. Some other agencies that are doing like spawning gravel
Right,
beds, or
right.
things like that. Our project is a little bit different, and that's why part of our agreement includes a technical advisory committee. And originally, the state board's feedback was they wanted to know how many fish screens we would build. But when you're building, fish screen projects can be fairly straightforward, or they can be very complex and extremely expensive. A lot of it has to do with where it's located, permitting requirements. Is there electricity nearby? Is there power we can pull? So all of those, it would be very difficult to say without doing an initial evaluation as to we're going to build one or we're going to build 10. That's why we formed the technical advisory committee so that we can all work together to come up with a priority and prioritize all the diversions and say, okay, this one, we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck. It's not the cheapest one and it's not the most expensive one, but this one will help the most. And so that's how the money will be implemented.
Could you educate me on a fish screen? I envision something like a rice box weir with a screen across.
We
it.
wish. Yeah, no, they're like,
Needs to go to see Hemp Hill, right?
yeah, we'll have to take you out to Hemp Hill.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's-
there are slotted like rectangle fish screens like that. Well, the fishery agencies are not bought off on their effectiveness and do not feel that they have been studied long enough to have widespread application. There are some areas in other states where they have allowed them to be installed. So we have to do a cone fish screen, and those are very expensive and do have electrical powered mechanical parts that move to open them up and close them.
They need to
We'll
see it.
take you out to him.
You need to.
Thank you.
My question still didn't quite get it answered. So we have a technical advisory committee comes up with a plan. We submit it and they approve the scope or the volume, whatever you want to call it, of a habitat project.
We will all work together and we'll say, okay, here's the diversions. And Jim's team has already done some work on looking at the diversions. So we'll go, okay, here's 8 diversions. These are our top 3 from a priority perspective. Number 2 has massive right-of-way issues, a hostile property owner. They're not going to let us in. Power is not. So we're going to table number 2 and we're going to work on 1 and 3.
Brad, do you have questions about this at this point? Well, the only thing I want to say is I was really pleased to see the technical advisory committee and the participants of that. That really allows us to expand. Thank you, Jim, and your team. I think that's a great component to bring in the community and those who are impacted by the actual waterway.
And Family Water Alliance brings a lot to the table as
Yeah.
well. They have a really good working relationship established with a lot of the agricultural private property owners. And they have a track record of getting
Mhm.
these types of projects done and permitted. So I think it's going to be a real good case study and collaboration
Well, I think
as
it was
well.
a great design. So
It-
thanks to all of you who put it together.
And they're located.
Yeah.
Aren't they located in Roseville, Lincoln? Calusa.
So, Brad has a
So,
question.
yeah, I do have a question on, so the habitat project, I think fish screens are cool, whatever. Is this measured in dollars spent? What's the measure of success on this? Is it, we
That's one
spent,
of my
we
questions.
spent X amount of dollars, or we saved this many fish, or we installed so many? What is the rubric for measuring success or accomplishing this part of our habitat project goal?
Good question.
The measurement of success is included in the Big Delta plan updates. So there's a specific component for habitat accounting. Currently, the accounting methodology that's included doesn't lend itself well for accounting for this type of a project. So some of that is yet to be determined.
So it could be, we spent X amount of dollars, even if it's wholly unsuccessful, we spent this money and they determined that was sufficient to meet the requirement.
There's 2 levels to your question. So the state board is enforcing our Healthy Rivers terms, right? We've made a commitment. In this case, it's contributing dollars towards a grant program. My view of how the state board enforces that is, did NID contribute the funds they said they were going to contribute?
Okay,
We've done that. We've checked the box.
perfect.
There's kind of a second tier, though, that while it's not going to draw some kind of enforcement action against NID, nonetheless, we're still interested in the effectiveness of how those dollars are spent.
I agree.
And there would be, the TAC is going to review the completed projects and, how is this affecting the Salmonids and Auburn Ravine? But that level of kind of, efficacy of our program is not going to, at least in my view, it's not going to draw the ire of the state board.
That's more of an in-house satisfaction.
correct.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
That answers my question, because like, how can you count how many fish didn't go down this?
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
please come to the dais. Thank you.
Jim Hoffler, Friends of Auburn Ravine. So first of all, in counting fish, we do have our salmon cameras near downtown Lincoln, actually in downtown Lincoln. So we know how many fish come upstream every fall and winter. Anytime the water's clear, we can see them. When the water's muddy, they're still coming upstream. So in some years we have like 350 on the camera, but then we say, well, maybe it was 400 because a lot of them got by during the muddy water. So that's your upstream migration thing. On your downstream migration, Placer County Water Agency has done a couple of studies at one of their diversions west of Lincoln, the Newmore Dam, also known as the Moore Dam. And they found that within 1 month period of time, 1 year, during the downstream migration period, 1,700 baby salmon went into the canal instead of going over the dam.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and then they did another study just in 2 weeks in another month, and they had almost 1,000 in 2 weeks went into the canal. Now, those were lucky fish because they got trapped, counted, and returned back into the creek by Placer County Water Agency. But that gives you an idea of how problematic these diversions are, whether it's a pump or a canal, how many fish get sucked in as they go downstream. In Auburn Ravine, and this is true of all salmon mathematics, you might say, if you have like, say, about 300 salmon in the stream, 300 adult salmon come upstream, they're going to produce approximately 600,000 eggs. It's a lot of eggs. Now, not all those eggs survive even to get out of the gravel, but you get a really good number of fish that come out of the gravel and start moving downstream. So our theory is, let's just give them half a chance. Let's make it a bit better where we can. You're still going to have predation. You're still going to have natural death. You may have a situation where the water gets too warm for a while. Mother Nature strikes the salmon. They've survived that for millennia. We can't fix that, but we'll try to give them a chance to get past the various barriers and on out to the Sacramento River. In regard to the water use that's on the chart, you know, the 3,600 acre feet, there might be some years, because like we were saying here, the idea of the term agreement, the term sheets, is that that water would only be moved from the Rollins system over to Auburn Ravine in situations where Rollins is naturally spilling already, okay? So in that kind of situation, you might have a situation where the reason Rollins is spilling is we've had a really wet year, and it's wet over in the Auburn Ravine watershed as well. And we don't really need to bring that water over. It's already cleaning out the system perfectly well as a result of Mother Nature's actions. So there might be some years, and it's specified in the term sheets, where there would be some discussion among the Water Agency, NID, Friends of Auburn Ravine, and so forth, the TAC, Technical Advisory Committee. And you might say, we don't really need to bring any water over in this particular year. And there could be other years, well, yeah, we better get it all, right? So it could vary from year to year. I also wanted to say, taking us back in time, regarding the Hempville project, you know, that was completed just about 3 years ago, fall of 2022. And first of all, it's proof that you can have water delivery and good habitat for fish at the same place at the same time. Water is still being delivered. NID's customers get the water they need, and the fish go upstream and downstream perfectly easy. We've been doing studies since that first fall and going on, and it shows these statistics actually flipped. Used to be that 90% of the salmon that tried to get past the Hempville Dam did not. Okay, some did in some water years. You get some that would go over the dam, they'd manage to get over, but only 7 to 10%. Ever since that situation was replaced, where the dam's not there, there's this rough and rock ramp, there's the cone screen off to the side, we now have 90% of the salmon getting past the Hempville location. So talk about good statistics, good business investment. That really did pay off in terms of salmon survival. That opens up 6 miles of good spawning area all the way from Hempville going up towards the Gold Hill Road area. Not exactly the Gold Hill Dam, because like we were saying earlier, we've been looking for 10 years. We've never seen salmon or steelhead. Adult salmon and steelhead have never made it as far as Gold Hill Dam at the time we've been looking. Theoretically, they could, but there's a natural barrier and some man-made barriers and so forth that make it difficult to get there. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, and you'll notice we have our new Save Baby Salmon buttons on today. Our Vice President. And it looks to us like the same success that was achieved at Hempville for upstream migration can be achieved for downstream migration with the Healthy Rivers and Land Security Agreement, also known as voluntary agreements. That'd be really great. I think we've got a path to get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, and you were the one that sent the articles about Auburn Journal and that Gold Hill never saw
Yeah,
salmon
right.
back
Exactly.
100 years ago.
Yeah, there's a little bit of some disagreement with one of the local fishery groups regarding whether salmon can reach Gold Hill. We did propose it initially as part of our habitat program for the Healthy Rivers and Landscape, and based off of feedback from fishery folks, but also the regulatory agencies, it was determined that's more beneficial to salmon to divert those funding to the screening of those private diversions.
Yeah, I got to tell you, if salmon did make it to the base of Gold Hill Dam, we would be raising that issue. but we have to look at it in a responsible manner because just 2 miles upstream from Gold Hill Dam, there's a really serious natural barrier. And you know, Gold Hill Dam, I mean, the creek edges are like this, bedrock.
Yeah.
Think about the construction issues. You'd have to really think about what's the return on investment there for doing some sort of fish ladder and then only get 2 miles of spawning? I don't know. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they never were there according to the articles.
Our own surveyors, neighbors, according to the agencies, the salmon don't get that far upstream.
There's a big group of boulders that would be difficult for them to navigate unless it's for
Yeah.
extremely.
Just about a half-mile downstream. It's incredible. I'm boulders, right?
What do you call it? You got a name for it.
Jumble.
Giant
the
jumbo.
Is a
Cata-
different.
Oh, it's
area. The cataract is upstream. That's a natural waterfall. The boulders, we call it the jumble.
The giant jumble of boulders. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Think of the gold
Okay, can
under
we-
them.
All right,
Let's-
so moving on to the financial contribution. So NID will be paid $75 acre foot for component one water, and that's intended to reimburse us some pumping and infrastructure costs
Paid by who?
from the larger fund, Healthy Rivers Landscape Fund. So the exporters have to pay money for water they export out of the system. And then we would be paid $290 per acre foot for component two water. And then as we stated earlier, 0 for component 3.
So what does that add up to in numbers of dollars? Do we have some numbers?
Depends on how many colliers.
It's all the,
So the
yeah.
statistics would say you'd have 4 or 5.
Right.
So we could do the math,
Yeah.
but, yeah, you just don't know.
who's paying? I'm sorry, you probably covered this and I missed it.
It comes from a group fund from the entire Healthy Rivers Landscape program.
We don't have to share that like we would if we were exporting through a neighbor irrigation district.
Well, we have not yet finished negotiating with South Southern Wheeling Water through Camp West. All right, we've already touched on all this. The Healthy Rivers Landscape Program is an 8-year program with the potential to extend to 15 years. It does have several off-ramps built into the program. And there's essentially what is referred to as a green light, yellow light, red light process to determine whether it gets extended or not. Some of that is still getting fleshed out through the work that the state board is doing now. And those are some of the comments and discussions that Dustin and I still participate in.
We don't give up our due process. At the end of 8 years, state says, wow, to us, it's not working. And now we get to do whatever the state wants to do.
Well, the state board, in response to concerns specifically regarding that topic and preserving our legal rights, because if our legal rights were not preserved, we would be required under CEQA to file immediate litigation once they adopt the program, because the unimpaired flow standard would be adopted. They did include some language that reserves some legal rights, but I do know that we have some concerns that there are some other off-ramps that are now included that don't have that same reservation of legal rights language. Dustin, do you want to touch on it more?
Your point is well taken. If it's a red light scenario at, year 8 and the water board pivots to unimpaired flow, we would sure like to be able to potentially challenge that, right? Because given the impacts that we've already demonstrated earlier. So we call it the backstop language. Basically, there's a litigation opportunity in the event of a red light scenario. What Jen is alluding to is that language, that concept, that backstop concept, where aggrieved parties such as potentially an NID could litigate a decision to pivot to unimpaired flow. That needs to be carried forward into these other potential avenues that the water board could take during that initial 8-year term.
So how about a yellow light? Orange light? I mean, it sounds like it could come in at a lower light, orange light and say, well, this isn't, we're going to scuttle that, but you only had protection under the red light.
Yeah, let's say the state water board because the red, green, yellow process begins year 6. Let's say the water board says, we sure like this Healthy Rivers program, but we need some additional volume of water that is just collectively, the public water agencies cannot produce that additional block of water that the water board demands. So you've started out as a yellow light scenario. The board is asking for more water, but the public water agency parties say we can't produce more water. You can potentially go from yellow to red. And in the 2022 MOU, the language in the document describes how that process would unfold.
So I could even see in saying, hey, it's a green light, it's working, we want double, because then we'll increase our, what they're looking for. I mean, I mean, every light should have due process for us,
Yes.
every color.
We have tried to ensure that there's, in the event of a negative outcome, you at least preserve the opportunity to challenge.
Even a positive one that they tweak. I mean, I really trust this state.
I have a comment that's
Yes.
almost piggybacking on Rich's. Uh, This is presented as a voluntary agreement. We have the choice between these two regulatory pathways, the healthy rivers and landscapes or unimpaired flows. And it feels, my impression is that this is akin to, we either get to cut off our thumb and I'm not discounting, like, I believe that the fish screens and there's good programs in here and some of these have value, but the state's given a choice between we either cut off our thumb or we cut off our leg. And ideally, we would not have to deal with any of these and we would be able to figure out how to do the fish program on our own in-house. And we could be responsible stewards without this regulatory oversight. I just don't like that it's called a voluntary agreement when it's not really a voluntary agreement.
They have, I think, in reflection of others sharing your same sentiment, that's not voluntary. They changed the name.
Okay.
They have?
Healthy Rivers and Landscapes. is the
Oh, I
name.
thought involuntary agreement.
Well, everybody's in favor of healthy rivers and landscapes.
That's right.
It's easy to sell that,
It's marketing.
Brand.
but it just feels it's a state overreach in
Yep.
either circumstance.
Overreach and bully. Bully.
But I think we're making the best out of it here. Yes, please.
Northern California Water Association, they are totally behind whatever you call it, voluntary agreement or healthy rivers and landscapes. They're totally behind it.
Well, and I think they're behind it because the alternative is so much worse.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm behind it because given the option, this is the best option.
Right.
Here.
Yes, exactly.
We'll live to fight another day.
So we will continue to keep the board apprised. Our term sheet and agreement has now been incorporated into the most recent update they have draft update they have issued. And so we will continue to update the board as things progress.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll look for some public comment. Is there anyone out there in the virtual world or any more from anyone here in the room? It's 3 minutes. You see any, Chris?
Seeing none, huh?
I do not see any. Okay, seeing none, we close this and move forward with,
That's right. We have a 10-minute recess.
yeah, actually, I was going to suggest a 10-minute recess. So for everybody, what time is it? 10:30, we will take a recess till 10:40.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. That's really good. All right, next item, 4C, Rollins Reservoir Storage Alternatives.
Ray, we will kick this off. Gabe will provide most of the presentation and I'll provide some color commentary as we go. Baseball reference.
Yeah, good beat.
So this is in response to the board requesting some additional discussion related to storage, increasing storage alternatives. And as you're aware, in the plan for water, we did look at several different options for addressing future water supply needs or water supply shortages related specifically to climate change and increase in demand. So we won't go into, we do reference a lot of the plan for water modeling in this presentation. We won't go into detail, but if you have any questions and need to refresh your memory about any of the modeling components, just let us know and we'll help you out. So Gabe, you want to start with the presentation? And this is very high level.
Yeah, sure.
We're here
Thank
just,
you.
Allowed to go lower level.
you can go as low as you want.
One with the perch.
Yes, good morning, Gabe Arno, Director of Engineering. And as Jennifer said, this is going to be kind of high level. We're going to rehash some of the storage components and discussions that have already been laid out there in previous studies, including the plan for water, kind of present them in one location. And I know like a year ago, there was a board item to present the plan for water, and there were some action items to move forward with these steps. One at a 10,000 acre foot addition to Rollins, a 50,000 acre foot addition to Rollins, and possibly sediment removal upstream of Rollins. And I'm not aware that anything has moved forward. So this really is kind of a reboot of where we left off, summarize those findings and options in one place, and then take your questions and see where we go from there. So Rollins Reservoir additional storage workshop. That's where we are. So next slide. Oh, maybe I can click it. Oh, which way?
You're good.
Okay. All right. So this is roughly the presentation outline. And the plan for water identified a number of options, and this is really just limited to Rollins. So you'll see that it's focused that way. So we'll start with a brief summary of what the plan for water had. We'll look at the existing conditions in Rollins, volumes, sedimentation. We'll look at the 10,000 and 50,000 acre foot additions and roughly high level, again, what they look like. And then the results from the plan for water, what they said about the storage. And then we're also going to take some information that the district has developed over time related to sediment removal and kind of project out what that would look like to build a sediment trap or remove sediment. And then we'll kind of summarize what the considerations are for Rollins and maybe discuss some action items. I laid some out and you'll likely have some others and, lay it out for discussion. So on the clicker. Okay. All right. So the plan for water summary includes that the plan for water looked at 50-year projections. So from 2021 out to 2071, and to bookend how much demand there might be out there and what the climate conditions might be. It looked at wet, medium, and dry climate conditions, which is interesting. We discussed that briefly during the previous presentation. And then low, baseline, and high demands. Low demands brought the district back to the year 2000 rates of development and projected that forward. Baseline demands are an average of our historic rates of development. And then the high demands are baseline plus 50%. So they're quite a bit more. And the wet, medium, and dry climates basically influence not just take a look. This is important because I struggled with it, as Jennifer will attest. It's not just a dry condition that we looked at modeling and what are the water demands or a wet condition. It's the whole historical hydrology that the district has experienced, and then skew it wet or skew it dry and project it forward. So it still has ups and downs, and that'll be important when we present the results, understanding why they are the way they are. So again, summarizing, the unmet demands range from 6,000 to 35,000 acre feet. Again, those are kind of the bookends. Dry conditions with high demands, wet conditions with low demands. And the baseline will be in the middle there. It happens to be about 14,000 acre feet. And so again, focusing on Rollins, the strategies were to look at 10,000 and 50,000 acre feet additions. So that's 18 and 91% expansions. Both reasonably significant, but especially the 50,000 acre foot. And then not part of the plan for water, but we're looking at sediment removal and building a sediment trap. So
Gabe,
yes.
so the demands have larger storage impact than the climate.
Well,
But-
the high demand scenario does. So if you'll recall on the
Right.
bookends, low demand was a 20% reduction off of historical demand.
But the
And
high
high demand
demand
was 50%. And
really drove the train.
yeah, so high demand would drive the train.
Yeah.
as far as what would be needed for storage in the
And-
future, the high demand scenario would. The high demand scenario is not reasonable or likely. So we really plan for the baseline scenario, which does include an increase over today's baseline based off of historical average increase in water use and increase in connection.
But we hadn't gone through the PG&E outages. When.
Correct.
And did that change our outlook a little?
No.
Okay.
We have not included any actual water use or demand associated with these last 2 seasons.
Yeah, but did it change how we manage water?
It is we can more efficiently manage water due to the lessons
Yeah.
learned from outages.
And well done too.
Yeah, and huge kudos to Chip and his staff. They work tirelessly, as well as maintenance staff
Yeah.
and hydro staff, to adjust and mitigate impacts as much as possible. And they did a wonderful job.
Yes, they did.
So if to piggyback on, I think I'm piggybacking off of Rich's question. If these last 2 years, when we had kind of I'll call it a man-made drought, if we had experienced, and we had both of those years, fortunately, in good rainfall years when we had captured water, if we had our shortages in dry years or exceptionally dry years or critically dry years, would that change some of these bookends? And maybe we don't have those figures in front of us. I can say that yes.
Only from the standpoint, so these are modeled bookends, right? And we did not incorporate any of the data or water use from the Spalding time period into any of our modeling.
Well, we didn't anticipate that, right?
Well, and we haven't updated the model since it happened. But from the standpoint that additional storage in Rollins would have potentially have been helpful on the Rollins side, just depending on the carryover year to year when it was built. But it would not help on the Scotts Flat side.
But Rollins serves over half of the district. Is that correct? 51%?
55.
55?
Approximately.
So it would be beneficial to the district.
But it would have helped on the Rollins side.
If it was, yeah.
And, you know,
Theoretically, yes. It would
and the
have.
choke point is still the South Yuba Canal.
Well,
Or
the
the-
point is Spalding, but remember, the South Yuba Canal has capacity issues, as well as Scotts Flat has a very small natural watershed. Most of the water going into Scotts Flat is imported out of the Yuba.
Small watershed.
Yeah. Rollins has a little bit more of a favorable hydrology situation because it has more water. It fills up faster because of the Bear River watershed.
And green.
A lot of the water going into Rollins is also imported water from the Yuba. We essentially cut off imports.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I know somewhere, did I just have that bullet? I forget, but identifying that the demand has more influence than the climate. That's just, it's just an observation in the plan for water that, you know, if you're looking at baseline and we try to adjust demands, and that's kind of an arbitrary level, right? 50% more demand is a lot. That has more influence than looking at a dry condition in the climate model. So it's, and then when you double them up, you have dry conditions and the high demand. That's really a bookend. And then if you were to triple it up with, you know, some sort of restriction somewhere in the system, like our last couple of years, then you might be kind of outside your ability to plan and accommodate every scenario. I don't know that. That's
Well, then we need micro ponds on every ranch and farm.
micro ponds. Sir. So anyway, Rollins was built in 65. It was built with 66,000 acre feet as a new basin. And 2020 bathymetric survey showed that it had about 55,000 acre feet, indicating that it's been sedimenting up over the years here. Currently, that map there is 11,000 acre feet of volume lost. 16.
You define bathymetric.
Yes, it's basically a survey. It's a topographical survey
This was
underwater.
consultant did this.
I imagine so.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
About how much does that cost?
You know what? I wasn't here when they did it. I think it's probably close to $100,000 range, I guess.
That's what I would throw out. Yeah. It's basically LiDAR. They go over in a boat and they survey the whole surface, and then they build a surface model and they compare that to the original design model, and they can see how much volume is lost.
I remember there's also dead pool issues, so you want to go down to,
You wouldn't go all the way to the bottom.
no,
Right, this is just total volume, just not usable volumes.
yeah.
Right, okay, so the plan for water identified and referenced this 10,000 acre foot addition. And that included adding a weir or gates on the spillway and raising the dam approximately 11 feet. I think I rounded here for the presentation. And the cost here came from an older study from 1986 that's ancient. And I just really want to qualify that these numbers are really, really broad spectrum, rough numbers, $30 million. I just scaled it up 3% per year to make it a 2025 number that we could maybe think about and get our arms around and compare it to the other alternatives. And it's 95 million or almost 100 million for 10,000 acre feet. And again, rough numbers, just so that we can like lick our finger and see which way the wind's blowing.
Back on that for a second.
Yes.
You got a 3%, that's just inflation, cost of living, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any higher regulatory requirements that need to be added to that?
There might be here, and you'll see that the next bullet, there's some indication in our own documentation that FERC and DSOD might have problems with the
Right.
concept as it
That's
was
line item
presented.
there, but I didn't know if you knew that there was.
I don't know.
This
So,
is a complete whack.
yes,
Mhm.
Okay.
yes.
You know, it's not even at a dartboard.
Okay.
We hope to hit the inside of the barn when we
Level.
start. Yes.
Level.
Yeah.
High, low.
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll see at the end here, the recommendations is, hey, it's time to zero in on what this looks like and get some help and real cost.
Dave, can you elaborate what the,
It could be 35 million.
what the concern is with FERC and DSOD may not authorize concept? What is?
You know, I couldn't find it, but it
It's
showed up in a couple of
freeboard.
places.
Enough freeboard to pass the probability of the maximum flood.
I get that.
Which I think that the maximum peak flow has been updated. So it's, you know, we would design this upgrade with the new flows in mind. And so they would have them and they would have to approve. The concept would have to meet the new flow.
The rules have changed.
It could
to
change
that
the
study in the
design.
eighties.
Mhm.
You can change the design and the cost to make it happen.
Right? It's a qualifier
You
that we're
could.
not sure what's required.
This is an option, but so when, prior to Gabe joining, Mr. Roderick and I did have the opportunity to meet with several different consultants regarding a lot of these different concepts. This is a option that could be evaluated further, but it really needs to have a formal study completed to see if this is even doable to take past the concept stage.
The 10,000 acre addition or
Yeah, adding
adding
in
in general?
adding in the gates. And then the other challenge is some coring would need to be done in the existing dam to determine if the existing material is suitable to handle additional weight. And then we have to really analyze the freeboard requirements as well as passing of the maximum flood level.
So we're high level.
We're really, this is the most high level one we have, or least well-developed concept.
Yeah.
It was last really looked at in 86 or whatever it was.
Right, thank you. Yeah, highly qualified concept at this point. And then we also note here that it would require a full EIR. I think that regardless of this, the presence of the yellow-legged frog, it would require an EIR just given the magnitude of the project, but
Any project.
that got thrown out there as a driver, like just, you don't have to evaluate all the other options to know that you would need an EIR. The 50,000 acre foot concept was evaluated more recently. I believe it was 2019 or 2020 by AECOM. And that included looking at a new embankment upstream and downstream of the current embankment dam, and also an option to build up and augment the existing dam. And they all came with different prices. The one we'll present here is the cheapest price, which I believe is augmenting the existing dam, building it up higher and broader. So this project would include increasing the embankment by 54 feet and the spillway by 53. I don't know why they don't match exactly, but they were presented separately. And increasing the length up to 1,500 feet is pretty substantial in breadth. And the cost in 2020 was 290 million. Again, to make it a 2025 number, I scaled it at 3% a year. So it's almost 340 million. And that's just the base project cost, no financing or debt service in there.
That's my question. Does that include is that all inclusive of all the environmental?
I believe so, but
We're going back to the dartboard thing.
Yeah, I think it is a dartboard thing.
Fleshed out, it does have some qualification for environmental.
Mhm.
I think where we would probably get thrown off on those costs is any permitting or habitat mitigation.
That's my question. Is any of that included in the price?
It is, but to the extent it's accurate, I wouldn't
It's-
guarantee.
okay. I just want to ballpark it, like formerly when we were talking about Centennial, I always heard the 200 million. Well, that's just for the dam itself, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't for.
we have tried to add in some contingencies, but any of these would require a full engineering evaluation report to really scope them out a little bit.
This includes financing?
No,
No.
that cost does not include
Yeah,
financing.
okay. So, I mean, how far back up would this go? I mean, Hanson Brothers had an operation back there, but they have created, I understand, yellow-legged frog habitat that has amazed people how good it is.
This could potentially impact the yellow-legged.
Could go up
We
that
would
far.
likely be buying mitigation for it,
So we would have to recreate that somewhere else.
buy into a mitigation.
Yeah, because that is pretty spectacular, that habitat that they have created.
And remember, one of the other challenges, and I referenced it a little bit earlier, and Dustin can help me flesh this out a little bit, is that part of the Bay Delta Plan update. It did originally include, there's some concern about unimpaired flow standards being applied to unused existing water rights and new water rights. Dustin, you're probably more well-versed on where we're at with that. It's changing all the time.
It's a dynamic situation, but the concern is legit. And that is, from the state board's perspective, they want healthy rivers, but they want unimpaired flow. They kind of want a baseline. And then moving forward, they would like to transition new water rights to unimpaired flow. There was some ambiguity in the language as to whether that applies to existing permits that are seeking extensions of time to further develop. So,
Which is what we would have to do.
yeah, so using a round number, let's say you have a water right with a face value of 100,000 acre feet, but you've only used 50. So you want an extension of time to develop a full face value of your right. The water board, at least at one point, has suggested that, well, you could do healthy rivers for the 50, but it'd be unimpaired flow for that, the growth in your water. So, obviously that's a regulatory dynamic that would throw a wrench into all of these.
That would destroy these projects.
Mhm, right.
But we wouldn't know that until.
But it's speculative.
Yeah,
Speculative that it's not going to occur.
yes.
The state
how-
board
how-
has
what-
proposed it.
It's already been proposed.
Whether it'll actually be adopted is still to be determined.
Yeah.
So this is which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do we propose a project and go forward? with the water
We want
rights?
to get near construction by the time they adopt it. We should have that answer should be known, I don't know, next couple of years. at
That's the first question.
Mhm.
So do we, okay. Do we wait till the question's answered or do we proceed with filing for the water right
We,
project?
yeah, there's already been some conversations with the water board about, we're not filing for a water right.
Correct. I misspoke. I'm sorry.
Right. So we had submitted a previous change petition, correct, Chip? And that process has never been completed. If we wanted to move forward with some type of storage project utilizing our existing water rights, we would have to file for an extension on that water right application. And so that's, the question. But I don't know that not having unimpaired flow answered and whether or not it would apply to this water right really impacts whether we file an extension or not. That's just an administrative process.
Okay.
Technical question. What is the composition of that dam? Is it a clay core? What is it? Do we know?
The existing dam?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to say I know for sure, but I think it's a clay core. with a rock.
Probably knows.
Peter, no?
Can you come to the microphone, please, and then tell for everybody's benefit who you are? And
Peter Wade, Director of Power Systems. The Rollins Dam is a zone fill dam with a clay core, with an inclined clay core.
Okay, and we obviously do all of our seismic studies and things of that nature. What I'm trying to get to is that do we have to, if we were to raise it, do we have to also increase the clay core?
Yeah, a new stability
I just-
analysis would
Out.
have to be done and approved by the regulators as well.
So it would have, we might have to take the whole back face off of it, increase the clay core, then raise it.
I wouldn't speculate about the methods of changing the core, but it would have to be analyzed and engineered and would require significant construction.
Yeah, I don't know if they can do it, but drill and grout it. I mean, is that even allowed?
We're so,
Okay,
We're so
I'm just-
far afield
I'm
here.
looking at something that could be just as catastrophic as
it would be, it could
a
potentially.
roadblock as
yeah.
something else.
It could be catastrophic. That would kill both of those options of utilizing the existing dam. There has been some documentation through some long ago emails that suggests that DSOD and FERC would have an issue with us utilizing that existing dam and making it higher.
If we took that dam down, what are the odds of getting it back up?
If you took that dam down, we wouldn't have water to serve to all of Placer County. Yeah.
3 years.
And that's why some of the challenges with building a dam behind the current dam would be,
Or, yeah,
Or
downstream.
yeah.
Downstream, okay, yeah.
Downstream would work.
Downstream would work till you had to take, unless you just drown the old dam, but I don't know how that would work.
I think the proposal was to cut a throughway,
Notch
through
it.
the- notch the existing dam.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about Centennial.
Well, not-
Parker,
Building a new-
Parker,
Parker.
Centennial's dead. We're on Parker now.
Okay, so
Can you continue?
yes, please. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so it really rough. For mental, but nothing specific for mitigation. And I know specifically it didn't include any inundation mitigation for a couple that are marked, but quantified. So,
Okay.
all right, so this table, the plan for water results strictly related to Rollins and strictly related to storage. And what I tried to do here is represent the findings here with the bookends. The dry climate, high demand, and the wet climate, low demand are the bookends. And so if we really just look at the medium climate with the baseline demand of 14,000 acre feet of unmet demand under these 50-year projections with our current storage, there's no new storage. That's it. It's 14,000 acre feet that we might be short in 50 years under baseline conditions. So then the next rows are here. Again, I should have highlighted just the one of interest here, the 10,000 acre foot with the median climate and baseline demand, and the 50,000 acre foot with the median climate and baseline demand. With 10,000 acre feet, where am I here? The unmet demand is 10,000, down from 14. And I noted before that I struggled with the hydrology and how if we add 10,000 acre feet, why don't we reduce the demand by the same amount?
My question.
Right.
Thank you for sharing it. I'm not the only one who was stumped on that. So it has to do with that these are averages. And Jennifer told me that, and I'm like, well, why isn't it one for
I think
one?
it was multiple times.
It was. I'm like,
Me multiple times too, because
Yeah.
straight math on it didn't work.
so what we have here is, let's look at the 10,000 acre foot, the median baseline demand, there's 10,000 acre feet unmet. And with the difference between existing for 14 is we only changed the unmet demand by 4,000 acre feet. Why is that? Okay, so it's an average. And what it means is that in the analysis of 50 years of hydrology going up and down, it might be inclined wet or dry. Here we're looking at baseline. Sometimes we meet all the unmet demand, and sometimes we don't have any unmet demand. It's zero. And did I just say that same thing twice? Okay.
Two different ways.
Yeah, two different ways. So that helped clarify it. Yeah.
New
So sometimes there might be more unmet demand and sometimes zero, but the average of the 50 years is 4,000. So we added 10,000 acre feet, it dropped our average unmet demand, but the average is not the whole thing because sometimes it's zero, it brings down the average. All right, so I struggled with that, and if that helped you, I'm glad.
I assume our demand, if I remember correctly from Plan for Water, demand includes the FERC. It includes.
We
new
did
FERC
put the FERC stuff in
FERC
it.
stuff is in.
Yes,
So
we
these
did.
are already built into here.
Correct.
Mhm.
Unmeasured flow is not built in,
No,
just in-stream flows.
that's the,
Right, so on the surface of it, I was struggling with, hey, we had 50,000 acre feet, that's more than our average bookend, 35,000 acre feet unmet demand. Why haven't we met it? And that's the explanation. That's what I struggled with. And
Well, and also the other, remember, there's still unmet demand on the Scotts Flat side.
Mhm.
That additional storage on Rollins is limited in its benefit to Scotts Flat side because the Scotts Flats, it's not like theoretically, if you had unlimited capacity in the South Yuba Canal, if you had more storage in Rollins, you'd fill more storage up and it would allow you to import more water to Scotts Flat. But there's a capacity limitation on the South Yuba Canal that it's pretty much maxed out. So more storage on the Rollins side does not benefit the Scotts Flat side.
yeah, and I did get the breakdown from the modeler on the unmet demands in Scotts and Rollins. They're actually pretty equivalent. So, okay, so then we looked at sediment removal.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, apologies.
I didn't realize you're going to wrap that. So regardless of which, going forward, we always have an unmet demand. None of these satisfies our projected needs for the future. Even our most ambitious project doesn't satisfy the projected needs for.
Yeah, and that was
Mhm.
that's why Centennial was determined not to be feasible, is it actually didn't provide that big of a benefit for the cost of it. You still have unmet demand.
This provides a better benefit, a higher level.
It provides a little bit of a higher benefit because it's higher up in the watershed than Centennial was. So the Centennial's location had a smaller area benefit because of the elevation of the reservoir. You go up higher, your area benefit grows a little bit.
But to your question, on average, there's always the potential to have some unmet demand in the model.
I have a question about
Should I
unmet
go back?
demand. No, you're fine. This is just, maybe it's for Jen. When you say there's always a potential or unmet demand, have we had a time in this agency in the last 100 years where we have not met our demands?
Yeah, but also remember one of the scenarios that was included in the plan for water as an option to address water supply shortages was also to modify that carryover target. So the carryover target in the models
Mhm.
is hard coded. It's not what we actually during a period of drought or lower water supply we actually operate to. So for example, this year with Spalding,
Mhm.
we operated to lower carryover targets.
Right.
So what we could have done instead is year one of the Spalding issue, we could have immediately cut deliveries to hold our carryover target.
Mhm.
But in reality, that's not how someone operates a system. So we still drop the carryover targets and we're able to still make deliveries. But if you recall in the plan for water options, one was modification of carryover
Yes.
storage target,
Yeah.
which provides almost as much benefit.
But doesn't provide any more water. It just moves a little line on a piece of paper.
Yeah, the line on the piece of paper is arbitrary in the first place. So the carryover storage target levels are what we desire to have, but it's not what you would
It's to
actually
meet
operate to.
demands in future years. For when we have 2 dry years in a
In a
row,
row.
for example.
That's right.
It's an insurance policy.
Yeah.
It's an insurance policy.
or 3 years.
Well, and we used that just a couple of years ago. Is it 5 years ago when we had a pretty significant, 3 years ago?
No, 3 years ago and 3 years.
3 years ago and 3
That's what
years.
we had. When I first got here, we were coming off the tail end of a 3-year dry
Mhm.
period. It will be likely in the future that we'll see those 3-year dry periods.
Of course.
I agree.
Yeah.
If not 4.
Yeah, I asked the same question of the modeler, do we have a storage deficit today under current conditions? And the answer was a little bit cryptic because, we've always delivered water.
Yeah.
Have we ever failed to deliver? And part of the answer is that NID through operations will provide some sort of conservation or request less use. And so you get through the year. And like Jennifer's describing, the model might show that there's an unmet demand, but we would have used some of the carryover water and dropped the water level a little bit with the variance in the operations and met the demand and hopefully made it through the next year, starting with a little less, but made it through. So I actually asked them, they sent me a print of the model with all the existing years, but on the Bear River side and the Deer Creek side. And, most of them show a little bit of unmet demand of 0 to 1,500 acre feet historically. But in the or was not early, 77, thank you. Yeah, they show a 42,000 acre foot deficit. I lived around here as a little kid at that point. I remember the drought then, but I don't know what NID did, but I imagine everybody conserved and tightened their belt.
Sure
And-
did.
Yep.
Big time.
Yeah.
And remember when we called for conservation during the Spalding outage, it wasn't that great of a response.
No, it was not.
But it was mandatory in 77.
However, Chip and his team, didn't they tweak the system, so to speak, to get,
Yeah, we,
there were some lessons learned from that, and they came up with some more efficient ways to run the system.
we tightened up the operations of the system significantly, and we're continuing to do so.
And is that measurable, in terms of how many acre feet that we,
It's always difficult to compare when you're looking at only a 1-2 year period, because you also have to take into, we're taking into account the decreased water supplies associated with the Spalding outage, but you also have to take into account the weather. So when you have, like, this year has been extremely cool, whereas last summer it was a whole lot hotter. So the number one thing that drives outdoor water usage is the temperature, is the heat, and the length of how long before it starts to get cool into those shoulder months. How quick it gets hot and how long it takes to start getting cool.
Today was nice.
We've had a beautiful summer.
We have. Except for the UV. Ultraviolet has been sunburning a lot of stuff.
Some sunscreen.
shade cloth. Okay,
All right.
let's continue on.
Sediment removal. All right, so in 2019, the district, I'm going to look to Greg here for specifics, but endeavored to experiment with some sediment removal, both in the dry above the water line and then dredging below the water line. And so I've taken those numbers and results and worked with Greg to distill them to some cost and looked at what that would look like. Well, what if we were to do more? What do those costs look like? So in 2018 and 19, we removed 38,000 cubic feet of dry mechanical, a loader, excavator, dozer, kind of sediment removal, rocks and silt. And then 10,000 cubic yards below the water level with the dredge. And below the water level, we included some mercury monitoring and removal infrastructure and incurred cost. And I mentioned that because we found that it was, the mercury was demonstrated to be below environmental thresholds, so long as we were excavating it shallow. I think the theory is that the mercury is very dense and settles to the bottom of the sediment and to the bottom, wherever it can get to the lowest. And so if we remove the mercury and monitoring and removal cost, we end up with how do I want to say that? We remove it for projecting forward because we think there's probably a way to stay above the deep layers of sediment where the mercury is. All right, so the costs that we're going to present here are from 2018 and 2019. I think we did escalate them to 2025 cost using the same 3% per year. Don't include any hauling or disposal cost. We were able to just, for this mini project, just stockpile them locally and move them out of the stream bed and out of the reservoir. So the mechanical removal ended up with about $108,000 worth of cost per acre foot. And the suction dredging, I don't know, what is this, almost four and a half times as much, $460,000 per acre foot removed of material below the water line. So that's obviously a deterrent.
Does gold recovery factor into that?
No.
I didn't
Not at
include
all.
credit for gold. I did not include.
Gold's gonna be where the
That's not
mercury
right.
is.
There was
no gold recovery.
There was almost no gold that came out of that.
Is that a wink? No.
was
Yeah,
not.
there was no gold.
No.
Man,
Right.
we had a.
Seriously?
Right.
There was some,
You're gonna avoid the mercury, you're gonna avoid the gold.
there was some
Correct.
gold.
It was not that.
Sure.
There was a
Negli-
little bit,
If
but
you-
it was,
If you pulled mercury, you pulled gold.
Negligible mercury.
Well, we didn't get down in.
Oh,
We
we
didn't-
need to get down onto the bottom.
For the
Get
top
on,
mercury.
get on the rock.
Right, so then the costs go up if we go into mercury and the
Right.
cost to recover the gold, I imagine, which I don't know anything about. So the bottom numbers here for 5,000 acre feet projected of sediment removal. I only went to 5,000 because in the bathymetric study, you saw that we lost 11,000 acre feet, but I'm thinking it's going to become impractical to scour the entire bottom of all of Rollins. And we don't want to go too deep where that mercury is. So I just, for illustrative purposes, picked 5,000. On the mechanical removal, it's $500 million, $540 million. A lot of money for 5,000 acre feet. And the suction dredging is in the billions, right? It's just silly to even talk about what that is. I present it so that you can see what that kind of effort looks like, and that's without the mercury management.
So
And that number has just doubled or about doubled since we.
that's at a
First-
cost of additional storage. We have at the 10,000 acre feet of additional storage comes out to about $10,000 per acre feet. And then unless I totally botched the math, and that's possible, the 50,000 acre feet of additional storage comes out to $6,720 an acre foot. Whereas our cheapest is $108,000 per acre foot to remove the sediment. Tenfold.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, silly.
Remember, 38,000 cubic yards is only 23.5 acre feet.
Yeah,
This doesn't include hauling.
There's not even freight in this.
There's
It's
not,
just
we're
getting
not
out.
hauling it off-site. They piled it on adjacent to the project. I will note, again, these are really big, rough numbers. This is at 38,000 cubic yards and 10,000 cubic yards is really only a handful of acre feet. The economy of scale might not be there. If we scale up to 5,000 acre feet, we might improve on these numbers a little bit with big scrapers and heavier machinery, more machinery, more profit for contractors so they can benefit. But the point is that it's going to be very high to remove sediment.
Whereas if we put in 500 microponds of 10 acre feet, it's only $50 million.
Mhm.
Now, that also includes the pumping stations and the filtration for drip irrigation.
You didn't say backbone.
Had to get it in.
Didn't say.
But also, it's not including, this stuff is dumped where? That's not dumped up the road. It's dumped off-site.
Great.
This is in a deep canyon of the Bear River, and you got to drive it up and out, up to Highway 80.
Yeah.
What is the composition of this material? Is it all the fine sediments, or do we have any
Gunk.
gravels in it, or what?
If you went to Google Earth and you went back 15, 20 years, you can see where the sediment is infiltrating the high water mark of the reservoir. So as it's downstream, we're talking about sections that are downstream between where Steep Hollow and the Bear River come in, and it's in the reservoir high water line. At the confluence of Steep Hollow and Bear River, those are more gravel, merchantable product. There's an element there of merchantable product, similar to the upstream of Greenhorn, where Hansen Brother currently has an operation. As you get down further into the reservoir, it's fine silts and sands, and it has very little value.
That's
Fanny.
That was determined in the Combi.
It's the same with the combi.
Combi was, it was worthless. Nobody wanted it.
Using it as a construction product for raising the dam, is that what I looked at? That would be your.
We have
option.
it's been looked at to make countertops,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
cool. I have a piece on my desk if anyone wants to see it.
Product.
Any more conversation about filling the gold mines?
So there has been some local nonprofit NGOs in the area that have talked about filling the defunct mines with cement mostly. No talk recently about, but again, you have to get it out of the location where it's in. You have to drive it somewhere to these gold mines that are
Right.
typically dry it, you have to set it. Yeah, and then you have to drive it to a place that typically doesn't have a haul road associated with it.
Right.
It's just it's just a hole in the side of the mountain that is, but no, Rich, there hasn't been much discussion on
I
that.
think I would caution everybody, we haven't had done a huge analysis on this, but our recommendation that this is always a on the shelf can do if someone comes up with a good idea.
Yeah.
But should not be our solution,
Well, it's important to have gone over the numbers, right?
right?
Say, and the affordability or not, so we can speak intelligently about it and have our facts.
And these are numbers based on the sediment removal project at Combi. It could be completely different. I don't think we've really analyzed, like Jennifer says, this section completely.
Right.
Yeah, very high level, and for illustrative purposes, even if these numbers were halved, they would still be daunting in my opinion. They're very expensive.
Okay, let's continue with
Yeah.
the sediment trap.
Okay, so the sediment trap is, well, you'll see in a second, it's more sediment removal to create a spot for sediment to trapped. This first bullet here, mechanical traps, I just wanted to mention it, that they do exist. There are products where you can buy a giant box and it has a ramp and the current will drive the sediment up and it will drop in, and then you need a crane or an excavator, you can lift this out. I just want to present it first and rule it out. That's not practical in this location. And the volumes that we're going to talk about in a second that we would want to catch, there's these things, something you would pick up with an excavator or a crane is, the size of a truck at most. We're talking about much bigger volumes, and you still have to then recover it and haul it out and dispose of it somewhere. So that would just add cost and complexity. So the trap, as I've envisioned it, and as this very crude concept, is basically a little mini reservoir upstream of the high water level, where the incoming water and sediment can lose its velocity and deposit its load above the reservoir, so that when the high flows subside and in the summer, you can come in and remove it. So taking the numbers that we have here, we have 11,000 acre feet that we lost over 60 years historically. And that on average is 183 acre feet lost, or 0.3% of the capacity lost per year to sedimentation. And I think that number probably varies a lot per year. So this is an average, the total over the 60 years. Really wet years with high storms probably carry in 3 times the average, and a really dry season with no flashy storms might not bring in much at all. So it really is just the average. And then to give us perspective, I kind of turned it around the other way. If we don't do anything and we get the same amount of sediment every year, in another 60 years, we'd lose another 11,000 acre feet. Just for scale, I don't know, I do that kind of thing to help me visualize how fast we're getting this, or what the volume is we're losing. So if we take those rates and we take the mechanical removal cost of 107, did I type in 108,000 in the previous slide? Doesn't matter. $107,000 an acre foot, and multiply it by 183 acre feet. We want to dig a hole that big upstream. And by the way, we'd probably dig 2 holes half size on the bear and the greenhorn branches, 2 smaller traps. That adds up to about $25 million. Very crude. I don't quite know what that design looks like, or how much we need to actually oversize the trap for it to be effective. As it starts to fill, assume it's full, then the creek's back to being as it was, and you're no longer trapping sediment. So you got to build it a little bit bigger. I didn't really do that here because I'm just illustrating a 25, call it a $35 million hole upstream to be our sediment trap. But then, and this is the rub for me that I missed the first time around, every year you have to empty that. And how much did it just cost to dig that hole? 25 million, right? I came up with 20. 20 million a year to keep the sediment trap empty. And that's another daunting number right here. So it's removing sediment or trapping sediment seem cost prohibitive to me.
Hanson want to do it for us for a fee, and then process the material, etc.
There's commercial outfits that have approached us.
There's always potentials, but this also is real high level,
Mm.
right? And it would only financially be feasible if we did have some type of public-private partnership where the private entity is able to utilize the material to make some type of profit.
Right.
Right. And so, we've kind of talked about that a little bit, and there's probably some version of a solution in there that would work. But Hanson Brothers is already in the mix. They're already recovering gravel as they need it and can sell it. And I'm not aware that their volumes make a dent in our sediment.
That's my,
I don't know that. I don't know that.
that was a part of the question.
Do they have any exclusions?
They claim that it does.
Someone has claimed that it does, but I don't know that we have data that actually backs that up.
So maybe our sediment accumulation would be more without them there. I don't know.
A lot of our sediment accumulation is the small fines and silts,
Mhm.
and that is not,
That's not
It's
what
not
they're
marketed.
used
it's
to.
not marketed.
They're recovering.
That's right.
Correct. So I think there's
But they're still they're digging.
there is benefit.
You would need
Long run, I think there's benefit, yes.
Mhm.
For
a
sure.
countertop in every home in the United States.
Started here.
And there,
So a lot of,
to your point, there are, and there have been, commercial operations that have come to us and asked us, particularly about the Rollins area and Steep Hollow area. There more than likely is some merchantable, operational rock down there. But what we're talking about is the fines and silts that are below that, that are really impounding our high level watermark.
The agreement we have with anybody in there, Hanson, et cetera, does it encroach into this area, or is that open, available to be done what we do
Well,
want?
they're
to do?
probably about,
Do they have any leases on it? Do they have any rights to it?
We have a lease with Hanson currently on the Greenhorn Arm.
But not where the sediment trap may go.
Yeah.
Again,
This is
Depends on-
so,
it's so.
I'm just curious if you have if we have a conflict already, so that would.
no,
Okay.
no.
No. Good partners.
Okay, let's go on to the next one.
okay, I'll just skip those. All right, so just sort of recapping, this is really just a summary of what we just talked about. 10,000 feet is about $100 million. 50,000 acre feet is $340 million. 5,000 acre feet of sediment removal, using the numbers we developed, 540 million is growing in the sediment trap. 25 million for the trap, very crude, but really the kicker, I think, is the 20 million a year. So that's, theoretically forever. I noted here that the plan for water maximum unmet demand is 35,000 acre feet. And remember that baseline is 14. That's probably our better target, since even with our bookends, we can't completely satiate our unmet demand. Alternative volume considerations that I sort of, they're not new, but that I was thinking about. Dry condition conservation. If we were in a drought and we targeted 25% conservation, maybe we achieve some fraction of that. I noted 15%, and that could end up being our 20,000 acre foot savings, which is kind of a volume provided, but it comes at a hardship to our water users. Leakage improvements. There's a lot of speculation about how much water we lose. Maybe it's not speculation, but there's various numbers about how much water we lose to leakage, and maybe even more to spills at the end of our canals. That may equal another 20,000 acre feet if we were able to get our arms around that leakage. These are high level concepts that I know you've all been aware of and thought about. And then there's the idea of changing our carryover volumes, continuing to buy supplemental water from PG&E, which we do. I was kind of fishing or shotgunning for ideas outside of like sediment removal that's so cost prohibitive. What else can we look at? And those might be other tangents. This presentation was really focused on Rollins and where we want to take that exercise, but maybe there's some options that are other options. New storage, I wanted to reiterate, I mentioned it earlier, will encroach on some private and public properties where costs are not considered. They might be minor costs, but I don't know what they are. And, there'll be environmental impacts. I think that's my last bullet here as we think about it. Oh, no, I did have some action items for some steps that we might take together. Yeah, I should read my own slides. So there's some the bathymetric study we did in 2020 identified 11,000 acre feet. There's been some discussion that we think there might be more loss to sedimentation. And so out of the gate here, I said, why don't we get a new bathymetric survey and see if we can't verify that 183 acre feet lost per year. You know, I also mentioned it probably varies per year. And so the last 5 years might not be that representative, but that might be good data to capture. I think the sediment traps the concepts are very crude. We could spend some more time looking at what they are and what they look like. Maybe get some input from a specialist that works on this kind of thing. I mean, they fundamentally seem like a simple thing, right? A wide spot in the pipe where velocities drop and you catch your sediment, but there might be some tricks that would help. And then I said, here, let's evaluate the 10,000 acre foot option more thoroughly because the current concept's old, almost 40 years old, and it's slightly more affordable than the 50,000 acre foot. So I said, let's look at that one. But, you know, I suppose I'm here for direction. You know, what do we want to look at? I was trying to find something that was achievable, affordable, but the list could change, grow, shrink. I think that was the end of my presentation.
Yeah. So we're looking for input. Our recommendation, I think, is get a consultant to do a new bathroom study. And that also assists us with our coordinated operating agreement with PG&E for the amount of storage that they have in Rollins, because that should be adjusted based off of sedimentation and reduced available storage. I also think we would need to hire a consultant to focus on a couple of these topics: sediment removal or trap, as well as a 10,000 acre foot
Raise.
raise.
Can I start the discussion?
Yes, please.
None of it is perfect. I appreciate what you've done here. You pointed out that, you know, there's 100 million things wrong with every single one of these options. And I appreciate that. I don't know if there's a happy spot somewhere in between. The amount of water we're losing in the canals, if we could figure out what it would cost to either pipe those or something like that, maybe that would give us enough water. I kind of just ran a quick number here, and on the 10,000 acre feet, if we were to sell any extra water there at $700 an acre foot, there would be about 6 million a year. If we did the 50,000 acre foot raise, we'd only get about 10 million a year. So going to the 50 doesn't seem to really be able to generate revenue to pay back the debt as easily as you will, especially since it's 3 times the cost. So I'm wondering if we do something with sediment, maybe look at a minor raise and also see what we can do for losses. When the pipelines either, I mean, you've already said to go through the mountains is going to be very, very expensive rather than around. But
Oh, yeah.
but I don't know if we can take the canals and change them to pipelines segmentally. You know, oh yeah, we know this one bleeds like a sieve and it will be.
We have numbers on that.
Well, and we do some of that now. It would not be economically feasible to pipe every single canal.
Right.
But with that said, that can target areas for more efficient movement of water. We do have an extremely inefficient raw water system because of how the canals were constructed in the first place.
Oh, I agree. And where we're going along here and there's a rock hanging off with a cable on it, we may want to take that one down.
Right, right.
2 to 3 billion for the.
Yeah, so we do feel that it is warranted, no matter what we do, to look at the canal delivery system, especially in the local region.
And incrementally,
You would do little bit by little bit every year.
by little bit
focus
every
on the
year, and
worst
focus on the
areas.
worst areas. Right.
And I also think we should have another conversation about winter water again.
I do too.
Amen.
Yep.
Until the rains come anyway.
Is there,
That's about it. Just
That was it.
30,000 foot elevation. I kind of just took a 30,000 foot response. I don't have at this point. You know.
okay, Rich, you want to?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was guessing you might have something to add.
So these are based on real numbers and personal experience. In the state of California, you can put in a micro pond, 10-acre foot or less. And in doing so, the construction costs plus the sand media filters and the filtration and the pumping system is under 100 grand. And if you're filling one of these in the winter before the rain, during the rainy season and using it, you're only looking at 5,000 acre feet costing $50 million. What we've done is we're full basically when irrigation season comes. And then when the rains or the still spilling over on Rollins or Scotts Flat or whatever, we'll fill it up again. So this thing actually kind of, if you had a 10-acre foot pond, it would actually act 20 acre feet. And if you put 500 of these around Placer County, Nevada County, you're looking at 10,000 acre feet for $50 million, plus all the increased production of agriculture, all the increased fire protection, the wildlife habitat. And for us, it became employee retention, allowing more employee housing. So it checked all the boxes. It's the cheapest alternative I have found to have a secure source of water. And I love the independence that we have, knowing that if something happens like PG&E or something else, we have a buffer. We have at least a month or so water supply.
How big a pond? 10
We have about 5 or 6, but you can go up to 10.
acre feet, how deep is that usually and how?
You could, in Nevada County, you can, if you go 6 feet deep and 2 feet up, it's over the counter permit. So you're a little over an acre. Okay.
What do you do about evaporation?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked. Evaporation has been a problem until now. We're growing Azolla. And I looked at Azolla and went, crap. This is a very succulent weed, right? But guess what? It turns out to be the best compost in the world. It is absolutely loaded with minerals. Antonio Garza figured this one out.
It's also a livestock fodder.
Yes. This thing, and the biggest trick now is how to mechanically harvest it. We're planning one in I talking tomorrow and talked earlier this week with a group out of Oregon who may be doing it down in the valley, because down there the water is so dirty and the sand media filters are flushing so often, and they're flushing them down a drainage ditch. Well, it costs maybe 10 grand to get to the drainage ditch. Well, put a pond in, grow Azolla, mechanically harvest it. We'll figure that out. The produce that grows in this compost is unreal. It is really good.
Is it preventing the evaporation because it's floating on top of the water?
Exactly.
It grows in water that's not moving.
It cools the water a
Exactly.
little bit too.
It does. And the water, we find the water underneath is cleaner. We're not flushing as much with the sand media filter. So I don't know. I've been bringing it up forever, but we've had new numbers and a lot different, some serious considerations on it now. And I talked to an engineer on Monday. He goes, whoa, this could work. And it's cheaper than any alternative we just saw. And it gives all our farmers and ranchers more independence. Now.
Cuts out environmental costs and all that kind of stuff. The big ones we'd have to.
Oh, we're creating environment. Yeah. We have habitat out there also.
It doesn't require a grading permit.
No.
but DSOD has a fancy chart that says if the
Under
dam
10 acre feet.
is it 10 acre feet and 10 feet high, that chart, okay.
Well, not chart, but
There's a graph that if it has to be fit on this curve, the dam can no longer, if the dam's this high, it can't have this many acre feet behind it. If it's dammed this high, it can't have this many acre.
yeah, the Nevada County Ag Commissioner, Krista, and I immediately went in about a year ago and got it all set up with planning and building, that if you go 6 feet deep, 2 feet up, here it is. Go do it.
Okay, so Rich, can we keep to what they're looking for is direction, and I don't.
Well,
think-
direction is, I think we should look into it.
Okay, so maybe to just organize this a little bit. Staff's recommendation, come back with a contract to get consultant resources to do a new
Bathymetric.
bathymetric study. Incorporate into, well, we'll actually probably have to come back as a budget amendment to have additional resources for consultant budget to complete a updated analysis on a 10,000-foot raise. File for an extension on our Rollins water rights and start focusing on increasing efficiency within the canals.
Mhm.
And on the farm,
And we will look at micro ponds to the extent that we can influence private property owners within our legal powers.
Yeah.
We don't have many.
and it also fits into our conservation efficiency of irrigation because immediately you're getting away from flood irrigation and you're getting into micro sprinklers or drip irrigation, which are a lot more efficient.
Because if we had a district program, then we run into problems with.
A lot of legal issues.
There's a lot of legal
Is it
issues. So I
property
don't,
or how do you-
yeah.
Yeah, they're funding one guy's pond and everybody
not-
doesn't get a pond.
Right.
That-
There's some
but I-
ways you can do it, but
but I
I
agree with
have
it.
to really think about it.
I think it's a thinking out of the box. We're facing that.
Yeah.
With all of these discussions, we got to start, we have to think more out of the box than we have in the past.
Mhm.
And then my, if it's my turn.
Yes.
I'll take my turn.
Please take your turn.
I think it's imperative, looking at page 9, looking at the unmet demands, and we've known this since I've been on the board, it used to be 55,000, now it's down to 35. We have an imperative to move forward at
Mhm.
a little faster pace than we have been so far. And I'm not suggesting any one thing or the other. I think I think this has been a good conversation that needs to be pursued more vigorously.
Brad?
Yeah, so I appreciate the sedimentation and especially the costs on the sedimentation. And prior to this workshop, I actually thought those were pretty legitimate tools. And at the cost, even at the sedimentation trap at a maintenance cost of 109,000 per acre foot, these are sedimentation, stopping sedimentation and removing sedimentation are not feasible for anybody. Our best cost, our best bang for our buck is at $50,000 acre foot. So the bathymetric survey, that's useful, but it's only academic because that doesn't pay. It doesn't pay in anybody's book to trap it or to remove it. So it's useful to know what's there, but if we can estimate it as we're adding 183 we're losing in 183 acre feet a year. If we estimate that, I mean, that seems pretty reasonable. So looking forward, the alternatives, like the conservation is always a take. I appreciate the leakage improvements, but we know that's expensive. Our least cost option is to increase storage. And I'd just like to move forward in any manner. So if we move forward with a consultant, could we move forward with a consultant on the 50 and then fall back to the 10?
They're two totally different studies. So you'd be doubling the cost.
So what's the process to move forward in any capacity on storage?
So we would issue a request for proposal to have a consultant do a more in-depth analysis related to the existing dam. What the new regulations would be, we likely start entering into wanting to do some coring of the dam to see how stable it is, start conversations. Because the ultimate question is it even feasible with
Sure.
the existing dam? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't,
Feasible
Comment on
from-
that. We don't know what the sweet spot is on the raising of the height as far as benefit cost ratio. Is there a way that we could perform a study that says a 11,000 acre feet, a 14,000 acre foot raise is the sweet spot for everything that needs to be done?
Cost
Yeah.
Most of the study would be centered towards that. If we had to figure about inundation zones, yeah, that might raise it for a
Yeah,
higher
well,
thing.
what's the best cost benefit
Yeah.
for the ratepayers for this district?
So, and remember, we also have other problems on the Scotts Flat side. And just to put this out there, I do think it's a higher priority of the district to deal with the South Yuba Canal. It's a higher risk at this
Yes,
point.
it is a higher risk.
What do you mean, the fire hat?
Just a fire hazard. It's
Also the road,
When do we?
built in the
the road going
1800s.
down Bear Valley.
When we do the
If
Scotts
you-
Flat Canal or South Yuba Canal workshop, I've got an idea on that one too, when we get to it.
Well,
Really are.
but there's also a cost consideration and staff bandwidth. So this goes back to the reason why I didn't bring a proposed item or goal for the strategic plan is I wanted to obtain some input.
Mhm.
In the grand scheme of staffing and capacity to deal with some of these higher level issues, any actual funding feasibility of these larger concepts and looking at that in the context of some of our other risks that we have that should probably be addressed prior to this. I think we need to start having those discussions.
So I was just on Highway 20 and there's a new section, but where the old section goes and you're going down into Bear Valley, that road's starting to do this.
Yeah, you'd have to point it out. I don't know that I noticed that last time I was there.
Well, our canal's right underneath it.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems. And yeah, and then we do have to take into consideration the regulatory uncertainty associated with unimpaired flows being applied to any of
Mhm.
those storage
And then how
concepts.
that would work in the cost benefit. You know, it seems to me that we would need, you know, Brad, and I hear what you're saying, but before we can think about raising the dam to get more water, don't we need to know how much, you know, how much sediment there is there? So it's like,
Well, I think we just got a presentation that
Well,
hit a lot of that.
well,
Yeah,
no,
I would
but
like
they
the
said,
sediments. My recommendation is do the sediment study because it also assists us with our coordinated operating agreement.
yeah, I think we have to have
And
a
who
sediment
has what
study
portions
first.
of-
You know, we have to know how much is filled up because the old one, the 11,000 acre feet was done when?
It's not that old, it's 2020, but
2020.
yeah, it's just because the issue is so important, we threw out, hey, why don't we confirm it? See if it's moving or changing.
Right,
Um,
right,
It is a little academic, but it's
sure.
important information for us.
And I'm also, I would like to see, you know, talks about micro ponds, which is a wonderful idea, but is there any way we can think about doing a smaller raises in some of those upper division reservoirs that we have?
Yeah, little micro
Like little,
reservoirs.
yeah, little micro reservoirs.
Hey, I'll
know.
Raises.
have to go back and look at it. Something was looked at Jackson Meadows, but I don't
Was
really
it?
recall why it never went
More
forward.
efficient to do it that way.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that
So we still have the same problems of importing the water into the lower half of the system.
because of the South Yuba Canal.
That's
Yeah.
the biggest problem.
Yeah. But I really appreciate what you have outlined here. But I also agree with Earl that there might be something other than 10,000 that might be cheaper, greater, you know, a better bang for the buck, so to speak.
In this situation, building the full 50,000, a lot of it sits year over year. You can't get into it.
You can't, yeah. And then it also puts us into,
You'll never get into it. And same problem with Spalding because of where the unmet demand is.
right. So it seems
So
like.
what satisfies the demand? What satisfies the unmet demand? None of these.
You'd have to also build storage on Scotts Flat and increase the size of South Yuba.
Maybe that's our next workshop.
Well, it seems
Just
like
so-
a combination.
Right, the other consideration, we would not meet bonding coverage requirements for those large amounts. So we would be looking at having to get partners, which is not, but doesn't take it off the table, but the reality is it would be very difficult for our ratepayers to afford
We
that.
can't bond it.
You have to have a specific amount of revenue. So your revenue has to be between 1.15 times and 1.25 times
To borrow.
over your annual
Yeah.
debt service to meet
Borrow.
underwriting requirement
Borrowing.
to
or
bond- to
issuing
Bond
debt.
that much money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the other thing I feel like is that, you know, the answers might lie in a bunch of these things, you know, I
It's
wouldn't,
what my sense is.
I wouldn't
agree.
dismiss,
Yeah.
you know, replacing
too.
some of those canals,
Any of it.
you know,
Yeah.
incrementally and as needed over time. And, doing the conservation and doing, tightening up the system. I mean, all of those things yield acre feet. So it just seems like we want to think about a package of things, not just one
A little bit here, a
solution.
little.
So how about I do this? Let's take these one at a time so I can gauge where we have.
Okay,
Is everybody on board with the bathymetric study update?
I definitely am.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
this is informal. You can change your mind
Yeah.
tomorrow and call me.
It's after 11:30, guys, better.
Yeah, we're going to be ordering lunch soon.
No, we need to slow it down just.
Okay, so staff will be moving forward with initiating the work
Okay.
needed to get that done.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with doing a higher level sediment trap concept? Not doing any design, but just really understanding whether this is even remotely
Go
feasible.
from
or not.
30,000 feet down to 5,000 feet.
We're going from 80 down to 30.
Yeah, I
That's
would. I
close.
mean, I think
Yeah,
we have to
because-
explore all these
Yeah,
options.
yeah, I think those numbers, if those numbers that I pencil out are reflective, maybe he can get them
I
more
mean-
accurate on a bigger scale. It's a little bit cheaper or something. I think that'd be worth it.
Maybe we do a sediment trap just on the worst side, or maybe we figure something out. Okay. We're going forward with that. Is everybody on board with getting a consultant to really look at Rollins existing dam, what the existing regulatory requirements are, and a high level, what can we do with that existing dam?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
Whether
okay.
it's-
We're back to high, we're bringing it back down, lower elevation, more information, but it's gonna answer the fundamental question we need answered about that dam.
We're not gonna look at 10,000, we're not gonna look at 50,000, we're gonna look at, okay, here's what the dam can do, here's what the regulations can do, here's the cost, it'll fit someplace in this range.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. And then we will further work on canal improvements
Canal.
and support of micropods.
Here, here. I do like the microponds, Rich, even though I poked
I
fun at
do
you.
too, but
We would have difficulties within our legal authority to
Yeah.
actually do any type of real projects on people's private
It-
property, but we can think about this a little bit more.
Yeah, but it fits into our conservation and efficiency programs, but also RCD would probably take the lead on it.
I have one other question, since you did bring up Scott's Flat. We have a resource there. Would it be efficient to do a bathymetric study of Scott's Flat at the same time we're doing Rollins, so that we
I don't know how
have
much more efficiency you would get.
base data? I mean, or no?
I don't think you would get any economy of scale because you're really having to mobilize people and equipment to two different places, and they process the mapping completely separately.
So
But do we want that? No economy of scale, I don't think, but. do-
No, I guess I was just sort of thinking, while we're doing
Simply an
evaluation,
assessment
it might
issue.
be interesting to know where we are with Scott's Flat.
I don't know that it would be worth the money. We just don't really have a sediment issue at Scotts Flat.
Well, that is
First
true.
requirement
That's
too,
it.
right?
And you could tell when you fly over the two different reservoirs.
So the-
Brown and
yeah.
muddy.
So the water we get is Powerhouse 1 and 2 gets into the South Yuba Canal. We can come off the Fuller, where the powerhouse comes off
I would go
Fuller,
across.
and come across the face of Spalding. But how to get it over, and then how much would a tunnel cost?
well, that brings up.
This is a different workshop also.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
whole different thing.
That's 40 years and
Well, I don't know. I mean,
lots of money.
40 years.
I've heard 80
You
million.
have to do something today to get something done in 40 years.
That's,
And it's worth looking at, but that, I do agree, that's a separate workshop.
it is a
is a
separate
separate-
workshop.
Okay, I think
And-
we have our march.
I think you
gonna-
have,
And we're going to schedule that one.
as soon as they get done with all of the other.
Yeah, get to know the other ones. Yeah,
Thank you,
I had
Gabe.
to see it one time.
Thank you, Gabe, so much.
for sure.
Now, do we have any public comment on this item? I bet we do. Oh, and there he goes. It's Otis. Okay,
Yeah,
Otis.
Otis Wallen again. You know, when the Plan for Water set aside the centennial and started looking at the raise of Rollins, I said, I don't know anything about what's going on above Rollins.
Neither
So
do
I got together with a buddy and I put a GoPro on and got together with another buddy who has a drone. And we went up and we inflatable kayak jumped in right below the Chicago Park Powerhouse and floated down, shooting on the river and also from drone footage. And we went at the time of year where there was during the Spalding, it was in the fall, the Spalding repairs were happening. So really Rollins was at record lows. And the footage is stunning, stunning. I appreciate the security of your IT systems. I brought a little flash drive of that. I was hoping maybe that we could take it and show it today, but you know, any system that's protecting themselves and the guy shows up with a thumb drive, probably want to be pretty cautious. So maybe there'll be a time where we could take a look at that. But I think you'll find it stunning. I would reflect on it as the IK run from hell, especially trudging through the silt, pulling your boat through the silt with every step going knee deep in silt. Well, it's not a fun, you won't hear from boaters about losing a terrific river run if you decide to raise Rollins. Anyway, on another topic, you know, I did sit in your seats over at PCWA for 20 years. You're making really big decisions, and I really appreciate the depth that you're going into it. You're coming off of a time of incredibly expansive thinking with Centennial, and now you're looking at these other alternatives, and they are all in the hundreds of millions. And I really have to credit your general manager, because in the last half dozen years, 5 years maybe, 4, she's really put the team's nose to the grindstone and doing work on the system, making it better in a very practical way. And NID is blessed with a huge resource of water. You know, I would suggest you relax a little bit. Take a look at what you have to do. South Yuba Canal, a few other kind of things like that. Then get through the rate hikes that you're going to have to do to pay for what you do on an ongoing basis. And maybe you get through a couple of rate cycles and seriously looking at what needs to be done with your nose to the grindstone. Anytime anybody mentions a project that's 100 million or 200 million or 300 million, your eyes by reflex will go cross-eyed and you will realize that it's not affordable. So, you know, I would just say, be grateful for the blessings that you have. They're huge. Be creative with the customers you have. I've lived here 50 years on 3 different homesteads, and I put in micro ponds on every one of them. You have a tremendous customer base, and the creativity and the willingness of your customer base to invest as partners in conservation, the type you're talking about with micro ponds and drip irrigation. It's huge. It's huge. You have huge opportunities on the user side that are unexplored. And all of your possibilities on the supply side.
We have about 30 more seconds.
Your supply side options are daunting. And when you look at the footage we did with that drone, everything above Rollins is stunning and daunting. You'll enjoy it. Thanks, you
Maybe you
guys.
can give it to our IT folks and they can do whatever they need to do with it.
I've actually linked it to, you can pull it off Google's cloud. So
Oh, you sent a link to it. Okay.
I've
Thank you so
already
much,
sent you the
Jonas.
link. So
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comment. Okay. Looking for any other comment or questions from the audience, the public? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we move right into the next one?
Yes, we should. So next is Capital Improvement Program Mid-Year Status Update.
So I'll do just a quick introduction to this item. We do this annually, and it's to provide an update on the 2025 capital improvement program. So we are really, really tight on time. It is noon.
Lunch is on its way.
Lunch is on its way.
Everyone's gonna get real hungry here real soon. So I think that, you know, our intent is not to go through every single slide and read it in depth, but it's to just provide a general overview of where we're at with each project, because you will then, at our next board meeting, we do have the capital CIP workshop for the 2026 budget. So this will help you be informed for that conversation. And just remember, some projects are not completed yet this year. We will then re-budget them for next year. So you'll see some of these again if they're not finished.
Nice.
So we'll jam through a lot of this. It doesn't need to be talked. Why don't we focus on things that are, we can go complete or it's delayed and this is why.
Read each one.
You know, what I was gonna do is ask if there are any you want to hear
Like
about,
that
maybe focus on those. 'Cause if you've read this, you see the list.
I propose that, these are all budgeted
Right.
items, right? Any new or addition ones that we have.
That aren't on here.
Or ones that aren't getting completed.
Let's focus on the ones that aren't getting completed
Right.
Okay.
and any new ones. I think that's a good idea too.
Mhm.
Most new ones, they should all be, we've talked about recently.
Okay, let's see if I can discern which ones are not. being-
Well, you know, if you just start with the spreadsheets here, this is pretty easy to go down and read. For instance, I had a question about the automated gauging head gates.
What
You know,
page?
That was on page 6. It was early in here and
Department, your department.
it's Fund 15
Yeah.
Engineering. And, you know, I was just curious, you know, it says 100% complete, but only $1,750 was spent. I'm like, what's up with that?
There's some funny numbers here, and I think some of them are like well along and nearly complete, but we haven't been invoiced.
Okay.
And so they're coming, for example, there's another one for the North Auburn treatment plant upgrades.
Exactly, right.
And, okay, wait, is that?
Except that says.
That one is
design,
complete.
But I get that, but,
Let's
you know,
see.
anyway, that was just kind of an outlier that it kind of caught my
There
attention.
was a comment in there that said that we moved money forward from the 2024 budget to cover that. They only needed this.
Well, but it still says there's only 1,750 in expenses and 35,000.
Pretty thrifty. Way under budget.
It's way under budget and it says it's complete. So I don't need an explanation immediately. I just was pointing out that there are a couple little anomalies that might be worthy to explain.
I can speak to that particular
Okay,
one
thank
if you'd
you.
like. So basically, that project includes the purchasing of an automated head gate.
Mhm.
The rest of the funds are for the installation part. We've already purchased the gate. We don't have the manpower and time right now
Oh.
to do the rest.
Okay, well,
So that's why it's not quite caught up yet. And I think we're going to roll the rest of the
Okay.
needs into
got it.
eventually.
Okay, thanks.
Congratulations on Maven.
Yeah.
5 years or 35 years. That's incredible.
Okay, so just back to process for a second. Do we agree that we're just going to look at with Gabe those that are not complete?
Sure.
Is that what you?
It's okay with me.
Or anything that
Or
pops
pops
out.
out?
Let's talk about North Auburn treatment plant.
Yeah.
We've had 40% complete to date. You want to give a little update on that one?
Okay, yeah, I wish I knew a little bit more. And so in some cases, I will be the messenger. There's a team of people managing different projects. But that project is basically to expand the existing chemical storage tanks so they have redundancy and can work on one system while the other's being worked on, or keep one in service while the other's being worked on. And I think that they've bought the tanks. Okay, wait, I think they have bought the tanks. It says it's in design because we're laying out the concrete containment basins, but then staff will build this. Staff will build this, and most of that budget is for the tanks, the new piping, equipment, some metering pumps.
They came from Wildwood, right?
Oh, there were funds that were moved from Wildwood over to North Auburn for this project, yes.
Mhm.
The funds, right? Not the tanks.
Oh, really? Gotcha.
The funding was where we were supposed to do that work at Lake Wildwood.
Yeah.
So we can move on to Lake Wildwood. It's showing 15% complete. And this is part of the discussion we had when we amended the budget to move the funds to
Mhm.
North Auburn.
Right.
So we are doing a little bit of a pause on Lake Wildwood from a full treatment plant upgrade to further evaluate the feasibility of doing a BEP and not
Mhm.
needing
Right.
the Lake Wildwood treatment plant update. So stay tuned for those discussions.
Well, Rich, give it a.
I know.
Ah,
Who,
Well, your chance.
going on?
I tell you, if you stay around here long enough,
They finally listened to you.
all good things
Finally
happen.
listen.
Right, so in pushing out the treatment plant project and/or the BEP project out of the rate cycle, it also helps what you're going to see coming up in the next couple of months.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
The
Let's jump to Summit Ridge.
Summit Ridge, okay, thank you for steering. The Summit Ridge tank is up at the top of Cascade Shores.
Hmm.
Is a steel bolted tank, and it it's starting to fail. There's little pinhole rust in the airspace at the top, so particularly on the top of the cover of the tank. And so this project will order a new cover from the manufacturer and replace that. What's it actually say here? It says it's in design, but it's basically, there's not much design. It's just being sort of coordinated, and we're soliciting quotes for the top.
Lower Grass Valley Gauging Station looks real similar to the other one that, yeah, that was it we talked about. Ricky already brought that one up.
Mhm.
Tar diversion at Wolf Creek.
Tar diversion at Wolf Creek. Yeah, Tanya's working on the concept there for that diversion. And it's probably, it's basically just the planning phase for that. Why haven't we spent any money? We haven't bought any parts or any materials, so we're just not spending that. We're probably not going to spend that this year.
This will likely get delayed. We did have some issues with the survey that's completed by a consultant, and so our staff had to go do some follow-up survey, which has pushed this out a little bit. All right, so I think we're good on engineering, unless there's any desire to talk about any of the other ones. No? Okay, the next group of projects is capital vehicle and equipment budget summary. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. Most of them are ordered, purchased, and or an RFQ has been issued. Would anyone like to discuss any of those? All right,
We're
next,
still under the EV thing?
correct.
Where's
So
the state?
for the, yes, it's
Regulatory thing.
still an ongoing battle between the state and the feds. Right now, we are subject to state law, so we do comply with that, but we closely monitor the situation, and we participate with other associations that help advocate for our positions being in high elevation areas. Same thing with Fund 15, capital and vehicles. We're looking good there. Things going as planned.
I appreciate the vehicles are cheaper than what we budgeted for.
Yeah.
Where do these go? When do they get sold?
They go to auction.
Which auction do you recall?
Um,
Or none?
Yeah. But we also do a shuffle, right? So we shuffle vehicles around the district. So some may be getting replaced, but it then goes and it's a hand me down to someone else.
Comes closer to headquarters.
Yeah.
In case you break down.
Okay, Fund 55.
That's when it was where there's a big delta between.
A lot of the items that are related to hydro, right, the projects, they do require significant material purchases. And most of those materials have to be fabricated in some manner. And the lead time for any type of electrical or energy parts, components, anything right now is extremely long. So that does cause delay on some of these. Is there any particular ones you'd like to discuss? And then we can have Peter and Gabe talk about them. Well, how about we talk about Chicago Park refurbishment? Really
Yeah.
quick?
In general, also in supply parts, is there particular parts or particular company or particular country you can't get parts out of?
We have issues with tariffs on steel. There's also issues. There's a 4-year lead time right now for transformers. Those types of things we're dealing
Or
with.
how, for,
4-year lead time for
That's what you
purchasing a
said.
transformer.
wow. So are we buying them?
So for example, this Chicago Park refurbishment project,
Yes.
one of the primary components or most important components, the refurbishment is the replacement of a large transformer. And right now we are having a consultant do the develop the specification for the transformer. Our hope is then to bid it out and purchase the transformer this year, and we will have to pay half of the purchase for it. So then we won't receive it for another 4 years. Paying half of the total amount to purchase it. Well, remember when we had Mr. Ted here?
Yeah, I do.
And
Yes.
it essentially reserves your spot in line at the
Yeah.
transformer facility.
Wow. Okay.
The 8.5 mile slide repair, I'm interested and fascinated by that one, so I'd love to be kept up to date on it. Just in my wheelhouse, I guess you might say.
Yeah, I can speak briefly to it. It hasn't moved very much since you were there.
Not
Um,
much,
I-
that means it's moving.
Well, I hope not. I meant the progress of a project. So there are sort of two components as I did end up back up there with another engineer who's come and gone. And so we need to augment our staff again. But there are sort of two components. There's the little immediate slide where we hiked up on the bank and it was kind of clay and slipping and you could tell that, and this is where Todd told us he places plastic every winter to kind of keep the water off of it. That is one little localized spot that I think we can repair. And in looking at the records that PG&E did, they had a steeper slope and they laid it back a little bit. And I think my solution there is just to lay that little corner of the world back a little bit further. And I've kind of drawn that up and laid it out anew or a little bit more, protection there. And then we can add maybe some jute net or seed it or something and try to stabilize it like the rest of it. The rest of it looked pretty stable, if you recall. There's some legwork to do in terms of coordinating with the Forest Service and where we can put spoils. I haven't learned those tools yet. And then there's a bigger picture that I think we need to look at. There's, the slope as a whole, is it stable? It appeared that underneath the flume, when we were out there, there's a little bit of undermining that's continued. Remember, there was some gunite or shotcrete on the side there, and it was kind of hollow back behind it. So I think there's there's the near-term upper slope project that I think we can get our arms around and implement, and then a longer-term study for the whole bank.
My 2 cents was to take that back like you're talking about, use a gravel belt, throw it over the edge and build up a toe underneath that to keep that other stuff from coming out. I don't know if that was looked at or not.
Well, we haven't looked at anything yet, but that's a good idea. And I thought of something similar, and I don't know how we're going to get equipment down there, and the slope goes down forever. So how do you start a tow? It's, it'll be a little bit tricky.
D6 cap and cut it in and then start track rolling it.
Walker.
We're going to hire Director Stevenson to come help us.
Yeah, have him bring his truck out there or
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah, I can bring some equipment if he does the engineering.
So
He's busy.
the revenue from hydro is what, 24, 25? And you're only spending 5. Should we be buying these hard to find parts faster than that maybe?
No.
No? Okay. No?
Yeah, I've done that and I've stockpiled all the wrong parts, Rich.
Did you?
You've done the same thing too. Go walk in.
We will discuss hydro finances when we go through the rate model, but we have plans for hydro, so we don't want to spend funds that we're not planning on spending on something.
Yeah, I just cleaned out 100 and some years and found parts I had no clue what.
Yeah, it's because they bought them ahead of time.
We do keep some parts on hand in the event of emergencies,
Yeah.
but we are not in a situation revenue wise where we need to be finding things to be spending money on.
Okay.
Anything else we want to cover? We have Peter here if you have any specific hydro project questions.
I am interested in the Rollins Powerhouse governor replacement. Because it seems like I've been here a long time and it seems like that gets talked about a lot.
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it? Okay, it's not just me. And is this one of these supply chain issues?
So I haven't been here a long time, but
I
it's
know.
been talked about for my short tenure. And it's in design right now. We're expecting a 90% design, I believe, by the end of the year. And we hope to implement it in a shutdown, I believe, in March. I'm going to look over at Peter if that's the right timing. And so that design is underway.
Okay,
Yeah, and there's a slew of spare parts and pre-purchased pieces that have been approved.
because we say materials have been ordered, so I just wonder, is that a year backlog or?
No, that should be delivered this fall.
Oh, yeah, please, thank you.
Good morning, Peter Wade, Director of Power Systems. The question about the Rollins governor
Yes,
is, are the parts going to be delivered? When are the parts going to be delivered? So it's either late this fall or early this winter and spring.
okay. Well, that's good.
I want to go back to
Anticipated to be installed in March.
Okay, thank you.
Chicago Park. Is there any used market for transformers or any, I mean,
That are used and
nothing.
blown up.
Well, there may be, but we don't want a used transfer.
Well, but if ours goes down,
Yeah, just like Ted shared a couple weeks ago when he was here. Ted Blank was here and shared
Yeah.
about transformer aging and the insulation inside the transformer that begins to age and the danger of keeping that on, that it can develop a explosive gas inside the sealed transformer and become a bomb of sorts. So having an aged transformer, there are things we can do with that to limp along or get it along a few more years. And we're doing some of that already with monitoring the oil in the transformer. But you're asking about, is there a market for, basically the market for a used transformer is the recycled value of the material, the copper and the iron inside. The transformer we're looking for is very site specific. The bushings, the attachment of the A, B, C phase that comes in and goes out of the transformer is very specific to our application. Those are custom made at the elevation and the dimensions that we need. So most of those are not standardized throughout the world. There's not another Rollins facility waiting for that to be a used transformer to come onto the market.
But it's still working.
Our transformer is still working, yes, today.
Good.
but yeah.
Is there any other one we'd like to discuss?
I'm just impressed. I mean, the priority scores are all 80s.
Correct.
Everything is a priority, right?
Right.
Well, no, I mean on hydro.
This list.
That's not surprising. Does anybody else have any further questions on this presentation?
Just want to compliment putting it together, and it's very informative, and I love seeing the big picture. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, huge kudos to Gabe and his team, and specifically Joanne. It takes a whole lot of work to put this together. And
Yes.
Yes,
and
kudos.
all of the other teams, they have to provide updates, and Joanne herds all the cats into one beautiful.
Got it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
Any other comment from the board?
All right, so in preparation for the next workshop, this will be a tool for the board to use to review the materials. It'll help you better understand projects we're rolling forward as well for
Got it.
2026.
Is there any comment from the public in the audience or virtual audience about this item? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward. General Manager's report.
We don't have a whole lot to report. We are experiencing cooler weather. It does seem like we might be edging into fall and the tail end of irrigation season. That does look like it heats up a little bit next week. In third week of September, we are going to have a Yuba River cleanup. It's our annual participation in Circles River cleanup that our staff does. That's about it, really. We have nothing else big to report, do we?
Sales of the property, did that one property go into escrow?
Yes, we are in escrow on one property. We received an offer on the second property on Magnolia.
Great.
We should be having another open house in
Couple
2
weeks.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Is that it?
That's it.
Board member, director and reports, items of interest? Nothing?
Yeah, I ran into Bill and Joyce Hare. I don't know if you know him, but Bill designs the trails for Yuba, Bear Yuba Land Trust, and Joyce feeds the crews when they come. These guys have been putting trails in for decades. And they thanked NID because they worked together on a bridge or something. They're doing it already. He was really impressed. And they had just celebrated their 59th wedding anniversary, which is really cool. Also, this is associated.
Just to qualify it.
Subject.
Micro loans, no. So it was interesting that they took off 911,000 jobs from when they did the audit for April 1st to March 31st, 2025. Those are jobs that were, hey, the economy is really growing. These are jobs, but they didn't exist. They didn't ever happen. But what the outcome is now the Fed is fully expected to drop at least a full percentage point by the end of the year, which will affect our home sales and maybe some financing. But it's interesting that it just turned overnight.
Okay, thank you. Brad?
I have two comments. I was able to attend it's not a NID related, but it was a Nevada Union FFA booster dinner. And the reason that's pertinent is that I recognized how many of our employees and how closely this organization is tied to that program specifically and also it's Bear River. And it reminded me of NID's participation at the fair, which is hugely appreciated. Anyway, so they are not associated, but we draw so many employees, and then there's employees' children that are in the program, and that was really impressive. So that's that. And then the second thing, I received an anonymous letter, which, right or wrong, if anybody expects to be taken seriously, you cannot be taken seriously unless you put your name on it. So I'm going to wad this up and throw it in the trash and put your name on it. If you have something to say, tell me. Thank you.
Great. Okay, Chris?
No report.
No report. And my report is unrelated to NID, but I did get to attend the Giants game on Monday and they won 11-4 and they had 6 home runs and I was right there and that was
Did you catch one?
fabulous. No, I didn't. I was on the other side of the field. Anyway, but my one related is I have received a number of constituent inquiries about various things and we have people out there watching and listening and the by and large, everybody's happy and is always grateful for NID. So just share
Doing a
that.
good job.
Yeah, everybody's doing a great job. Okay, if that is it, that's it. We will adjourn to next 2 weeks from now. Thank you.
Yeah,
Learned a
we're
lot.
lunch.